ICENET. Dynasties live here.
It is a name said two ways. Lemieux to some is Lemieux to others. Translated, it means only one thing, the best. In any language, this player has this in mind, a third straight Stanley Cup. Pittsburgh's magic returned in Game 5. 19 seconds into the match, the puck was into the Islander net, courtesy of 66. A torrid Penguin onslaught in the first 2 minutes. Lemieux to Stevens to Tocchet. 2-0 Pittsburgh. Mario's back problem was no problem at all. Just to make that clear, a second period deflection. Lemieux's mystical touch lifted his team's play to championship heights. It is strange what one player can do to another team. Al Arbour knew it. Islander goalie Glenn Healy concurred. New York was helpless at the Igloo in a watershed match. The feisty Ray Ferraro was reduced to frustration. Lemieux took his lumps. A target is expected to do that. There was a slash. A tussle with Claude Loisel, a player just doing his job in the face of his opponent's tremendous talents. Tempers flared and faded at the Civic Arena. 6-3 Pittsburgh, the final, a 3-2 series lead. Mario took the curtain call of an inspiring performance, a magical return, and there was a signal to the partisans. All was right in the Penguins' world.
Well, it's much easier for me to go on the ice and do my job when I'm pain-free. That's really what happened in the last game. Right from the start, I felt very good about my back. Didn't have any back pain when I was skating, and I was able to give 100% for the team. And when I can do that, I think I can be very successful. I think it's important for us to finish the series as quick as possible, especially with Montreal. They've been resting for a few days. They'll be fresh for the next series. So I think everybody understands from our side of the rink that we want to finish the series as soon as possible.
Mario, 16,000 plus in this noisy place have a different idea. The Nassau Coliseum is a modern NHL building which reeks of history. 4 Stanley Cups for the teams that have played here. Great players always remembered. Mike Bossy, Dennis Potvin, Billy Smith, Brian Trottier. There is a legacy of greatness in this Islander franchise. The heir to that legacy is number 77, Pierre Turgeon, cut down by Dale Hunter of Washington 2 weeks ago. He is recovering from a shoulder separation. Turgeon skated this morning with the team, but the franchise player has decided he will not risk it in Game 6 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC, and to the island, Scott Russell, along with Pierre Turgeon, who cannot play tonight. Pierre, how is the shoulder? Could you be ready for a potential Game 7?
Well, the shoulder is much better. I'm feeling my arm pretty good, but again, maybe the 7th game I'll be back. But right now, what we're doing is take day by day and see from there. And we don't want to say nothing for 7th game. Right now, I'm just trying to keep taking care of my shoulder and get back as soon as possible.
Quickly, Pierre, are you angry about being robbed of the chance to play in this series? And do you think the 21-game suspension to Hunter is justified?
Well, this is not my decision, and I don't want to say nothing about that. And that's the league decision, and I know that's the biggest suspension they never had in the National League. The thing is, it's not my decision, it's the league decision. I can do nothing about that.
All right, get the shoulder better and get back in the game.
Thank you.
Pierre Turgeon of the New York Islanders, not available tonight, but available tonight for Hockey Night in Canada. Our boys in the booth. Let's go upstairs and join Chris Cuthbert and Dick Irvin.
Thanks, Scott. Good evening, everybody. As the spotlights continue to shine here at the Nassau County Coliseum, the star player, Pierre Turgeon, not available. And Dick, neither is the captain, Patrick Flatley, tonight.
Well, Turgeon, the leader on the ice, and Flatley certainly one of the Islanders' leaders off the ice. And was he ever frustrated today, saying it's the biggest game of the season for us and I can't play? The knee injury the other night. So with Lachance also out, you have to say the Islanders are in tough from an injury standpoint, and it's too bad at this time of the year.
A few trends in this series. One, the Islanders have outshot the Penguins in each of the 5 games, but the goaltending of Tom Barrasso has been brilliant.
Well, I'll tell you, if the teams are as pumped as the crowd is here tonight, we're going to have quite a show. I know it sounds like a broken record at playoff time, but you have to just go back to the goaltenders all the time. And if the Penguins are going to be outshot by a margin of 2-1 again tonight, as they were 2 nights ago, Barrasso's going to have to be sharp again. Glenn Healy was upset the other night. Put his glove in the lens of a camera. But today he reminded me of that guy in the comic book. What, me worry? He said, I'm going to have a lot of fun out here tonight. But it's always a lot more fun when you stop the puck and your team wins.
Nick, there's a sign in the New York Islander dressing room which says winning is fun, but if they don't win tonight, the fun's over for another season. Great ovation here at the Nassau Coliseum for the New York Islanders as they try to extend this series to 7 as we go back down to Scott.
Well, Chris, what great atmosphere in this NHL building. The New York Islanders, as you said, 4 Stanley Cup. This is one of the great franchises in the National League. Mario Lemieux, no question about him. He was well rested and very happy with his back's progress today. He will be in the game, no question about that. Game 6 and the Islanders face elimination. Molson Hockey Night in Canada and the Stanley Cup playoffs from the Nassau Coliseum on CBC return in just a moment.
Gotta have it.
Our national anthem.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, there's great history in this building and history behind the New York Islanders tonight. They are 21-11 in the Stanley Cup playoffs when facing elimination. The referee for tonight's game is Mark Fawcett, and the linesman Wayne Bonney and Gerard Gauthier. As we get set for Game 6, Vezina Trophy finalist Tom Barrasso starts again for Pittsburgh, very sharp in facing 37 shots Monday night in a 5th game victory. And Glenn Healy of Pickering, Ontario was lifted in Game 5, but his spirits, as Dick mentioned, high this morning. He makes his 12th straight playoff start for the Islanders.
One thing to watch for tonight, Scotty made a big thing out of the penalties that his team had the other night, as again we show you the names of the officials, and he was not blaming referee Kerry Fraser. He was blaming his own team for taking some very unnecessary, especially the retaliatory penalties that put his team in quite a hole. At times they were lucky to have the 3-0 lead. According to Mr. Bowman, who checks these things out, they played 17 minutes and 18 seconds shorthanded, compared to 2 minutes and 55 seconds shorthanded for the Islanders. He doesn't want to see that happen again tonight here in this building.
Well, the most important times, perhaps, of game number 5, times of the goals for Pittsburgh in the opening moments. And let's see if the Islanders can start fast tonight. Loiselle moving in. There's a wrist shot on Barrasso. Puck comes back to Kasparaitis. Rebound, they score! Brad Delgarno, 25 seconds in, and the Islanders strike quickly.
great start for the home team. We saw it in Pittsburgh 2 nights ago. Barrasso was going to hold that puck at the crease, and one of his players came in and swept it away from him. And that's when the shot came in, the initial save is made, and look at Delgarno, just like Mario was the other night for the first one. This rush formed up at the other end of the rink when Ramsey got caught. That gave the Islanders a chance to gain the zone. And the rebound is cashed in, but Barrasso would like to have that play back. He wanted to hang on to that loose puck. And one of his teammates that didn't catch the number didn't let him. And it ended up in the net behind him. 25 seconds, 14 seconds, or 19 seconds the other night, Chris, for Pittsburgh.
First time in the series that the New York Islanders have scored first. The building was rocking before the game started, and it's even louder now. Derek King on the ice. King flips it back to Malakov. Up at center ice for Steve Junker, playing in his first NHL game. 17 for the Islanders on left wing. Puck cleared in. Daniels on the ice for Pittsburgh. There's Junker with it. He hands it off to Ferraro. Derek King on his left. King back to Ferraro. To King. Ferraro in the pass. Goes to the boards. Turning back is Yager. Daniels clears it into the Islander zone. Ferraro lets it go, and it'll be Uwe Krupp out to center ice. There's Steve Thomas. 2 assists the other night. Breaks his stick. Ferraro falling over Thomas. And a frenzied start for the Islanders. Here's Joe Mullen back. Grant Jennings trips as he hits the blue line. Out of the net, Healy. Sweeps to the corner. Jennings takes a shot deflected wide. On the near side, Brian Mullen. Lead pass. Here's Benoit Hove. Can't corral the puck. Behind the net, Hove battles for it, gets it. Out in front, Thomas just missed on the backhand. Mullen back to the point. And it hops over the stick of Tom Curvers in this game down the ice. And again, the fans saluting the Islanders as they make a change. The official on the goal, Delgarno from Kasparaitis and Green at the 25-second mark. Second goal of the playoffs for the former Hamilton junior. Green bodied by Tocchet in front of the Islander bench, but Travis Green comes forward. He's checked at the line, and it's knocked back out to center for Rich Pilon. Watch out, Mario almost stole it. Healy plays it off the board. Stevens looking for it. Loiselle took a hit. Here's Kevin Stevens. The shot goes wide. And out to center ice. Mike Ramsey flips it ahead for Lemieux, and it slides to Healy. Puck cleared to the line, kept in momentarily by Tocchet. Delgarno knocked him down. Larry Murphy into the corner. He was bodied by Kasparaitis. So the Islanders playing it tough tonight to open the game. Ulf Samuelsson deflected by Tocchet into the zone. On the ice, Troy Loney. He's taken to the boards by Kasparaitis. It's knocked free. Yager behind the goal. Jaromir Yager. Loney out in front. The centering pass comes back. Taglianetti's shot. And Glenn Healy with his first stop. Brad Delgarno has given the Islanders an early lead on the island.
Islanders are much more of a physical presence on the ice than they were at any time in the game in Pittsburgh 2 nights ago. Of course, it doesn't hurt to get the big start with a quick goal, and that gave them some extra jump, and they're jumping into the Penguins as well as around them.
Straka against Fitzgerald on the face-off, and it comes back to Malakov. He clears it to the line, kept in by Straka. There's Loney off the boards. Yager back to Loney. He's checked, kept in by Ulf Samuelsson, and his shot. Karam's out to center ice. Penguins finished with 32 points more than the Islanders during the regular season, but remember the season series was tight. 4 wins for Pittsburgh, 3 for the Islanders. They played the Pens tougher than any other team in the Patrick division. And out at center they come, Vakota clearing it in, kicked aside by Barrasso, kept in by Vasky, and now Yager flips it out to center ice. Big Uwe Krupp, left side for David Volek. He flips it in, and the Islanders will complete their change. Taglianetti off the boards. Here's Krupp, the shot, and that hits somebody and deflects over the glass out of play.
One thing Scotty was shaking his head about, looking back to Game 5 the other night, the giveaways by his team in his own zone and in the neutral zone. I'll look at the lineups tonight. No changes as far as the Penguins are concerned. Mike Ramsey is operating on a gimpy ankle, but he is in uniform again. And for the Islanders, they've made a couple of changes. Jeff Norton not playing on defense. He's been replaced by Tom Kurvers. And as Chris mentioned, the injury to Patrick Flatley has allowed Steve Junker to appear in his first NHL game as a forward.
From the face-off, Jennings out to center. He's tied up. Krupp. Pass for King, hopped over his stick, and Shell Samuelson flips it off the boards. Pass Mullen out to center. There's Kurvers. And Krupp on defense. Ferraro in the middle. 11 goals in these Stanley Cup playoffs as he cleared it in. At the point, Kurvers with the shot off Shell Samuelson. And Grant Jennings will start back for Pittsburgh. Big Jennings dropping it off. Here's Joe Mullen with the shot. Healy the save. Rebound is loose. Caught up in the skates of Jennings, chopped loose. Ferraro had Jennings all tied up as the Islanders were able to cover after that rebound from Healy and icing the call against New York.
Boy, that was a dandy wrist shot by Joe Mullen. As we take a look at Glenn Healy, he's a feisty kind of a guy, somewhat the same size as Billy Smith, who is the goaltending coach here with the Islanders, whose number was retired here a couple of months ago. The goaltender for the great teams that won those 4 Stanley Cups that are depicted by the pennants Chris mentioned, hanging over the center ice area here at the Nassau Coliseum. But he admitted himself that he was sharp in the playoffs, except the other night, his first off night. But he's all pumped up to get back in. I'll tell you, if the Islanders pumped as the Dixieland band was that they had playing in the lobby here tonight for about an hour before the game. Somebody said if they win tonight, they'll take them with them to Pittsburgh for Game 7 on Friday.
There's Mario, who had a smile on his face today. The back problems seem to have gone away for the time being, and he felt very comfortable today. Underwent traction prior to Game 5, and that seems to have sorted out the problems for the time being. Right now, the problem, the New York Islanders, who lead 1-0 on a first-minute goal by Brad Delgarno. Stevens is in for Pittsburgh. Healy around the glass. Tuckett waiting for it. Leaves for Murphy. Shot right on. Tuckett reaching for the rebound. Comes down for Claude Loiselle. And he hit Lemieux in the face as he tried to bank it off the glass. And Dick, Loiselle and Lemieux, much talked about in Game 5.
Yeah, we showed you off the top of the show the scuffle that they had in the third period. After the game, Mario claimed that Loiselle spoke to him and said, "I'll hurt your back again." And Lemieux said, "I can't respect somebody who says something like that." Loiselle claims he was misquoted by Mario. That what he was telling him was, you shouldn't get involved in things like this, or you'll hurt your back again. Lemieux stuck by his story. Now here's the puck coming into the picture off the stick of Loiselle as Lemieux, in his familiar spot for him, behind the other team's net, hit him on the side of the head, up near the ear. And it's a scary moment for Mario and the Penguins. He's on the bench, but it shook him up. And as you say, Chris, it's kind of ironic / interesting that the shot came off the stick of Loiselle.
If it's not one thing, it seems to be another with Mario. I just talked about how healthy he was feeling. He'll shake that off. 5 minutes, 42 seconds gone. First period at the Nassau Coliseum. And the Islanders with a 1-0 lead. Dave Tippett clears it behind the goal. Mike Needham on the ice for Pittsburgh, along with Sean McEachern. Murphy pinching in at the point. Dave Tippett keeps it in. His shot weak and wide. Krupp takes McEachern to the boards, and it springs free for Benoit Hogue. And now Brian Mullen. Thomas streaking down right wing. Here's Steve Thomas. And a nice poke check there by Murphy, who came back. That was a great bounce pass. Now Hogue to tip. Oh, and Thomas hit the post. Steve Thomas set up by Benoit Hogue, and a couple of chances for this line for the Islanders.
This line is skating. Earlier in the game, Hogue got behind the defense. You saw Thomas right there get behind the Pittsburgh defense.
Now Mullen flipping it in again, and there's Steve Thomas after it against Jennings. Knocks it behind the goal. Shell Samuelson out for Pittsburgh to center ice. Troy Loney to the line. Here's Martin Straka, it scores! Martin Straka with his first Stanley Cup playoff goal.
Well, a veteran on the Penguins and the rookie on the Penguins, and they combine, and Straka shows a good bit of determination to fight off the checking. He was being checked as he let the shot go, and that quietens things down here at the Nassau Coliseum as Al Arbour looks on. But here's a line that doesn't score very often, and Straka on the setup inside the blue line from Loney celebrates the goal that makes it 1-1. And he gets the shot away. He was being checked from behind, but he managed to outmuscle the Islander defender. And a big moment for him. And the smile tells the story.
First draft choice in 92, 19th overall, Martin Straka. And we're tied at 1.
Well, you look back to that hit goal post. Thomas could have made it 2-0 before the whistle went. The next whistle, it was 1-1. The old swing of 2.
Kjell Samuelsson also gets an assist on the goal. 1-1 here as Dennis Vasky's on the move. He's watched by Samuelsson in the corner. King pries it loose. Derek King, the shot scores!
The pattern in this game is so closely resembling Game 5, what the home team is doing. Coming right back to score, and that's just kind of a surprise goal as King walks out from the corner of the rink. That's a pretty bad angle. Barrasso should have had that one. And he sagged when the puck went in because he knew he should have had it. And it's 2-1, and the Islanders will regain the 1-goal lead.
That one's sweet for King because it was his stick that Straka fought off to get the Penguin goal, but he answers back 32 seconds later. And so the Islanders restore their lead.
The assist number 37, Dennis Vasky, and number 23, Vladimir Malakov.
Vasky and Malakov get assists on the goal by King. It's his third of the Stanley Cup playoffs at 7-19.
It's a 9.5 out of 10 just now.
There's a shot from the point, knocked down by Stevens. Mario can't clear it against Delgarno. Travis Green with it. Green checked behind the goal, and now Stevens tripped up as he tried to turn. Elon will whip it back in. Delgarno gets to it, bumped by Tocchet. Claude Loiselle back on the ice, so each time Mario's out there, the Islanders trying to get number 10, the veteran Claude Loiselle. He's over on Mario now. Murphy off the boards. Kasparaitis mishandles it. Here's Kevin Stevens in, and he just rolled it wide as Healy came out to challenge. Uwe Krupp up the boards, and Delgarno flips it high down the ice. Larry Murphy touching it and icing the call after the close call by Stevens.
Well, look at the New York Islanders and some facts about them when it comes to playoff situations like this, when they are facing elimination. And you see what their record, 22 wins, 11 losses. And at home ice, they're pretty good. They've won 11 out of the 14. And of course, you go back to 1975 when they faced elimination 4 games in a row. They're only the second team to come back and do it when trailing 3-0. And it was the Pittsburgh Penguins, strangely enough, who had them down 3-0 at that particular time. They then lost to Philadelphia, who went on to win their second straight Stanley Cup. That play by Stevens, he finally got loose from Brad Delgarno on the misplay by Kasparaitis. In close, Healy made the save.
Vasky behind the net. Watching him is Yager. Now Steve Thomas outlets. Left side for Benoit Hogue. Hogue against Samuelsson. In behind the goal. Trying to get it to Thomas. Now has it again. Hogue watched by Samuelsson. Vasky moving in. Good defensive play there by Yager, but they can't clear. Thomas. Cross ice. Hogue fanned on the shot. Samuelsson up with it. Around the boards. Yager checked by Vasky. Samuelsson knocked Vasky down. Boy, persistent work by the Islanders in the Penguin zone. Vasky pinching in again. Malakov covers and keeps it in for New York. And we've got a whistle and a penalty coming up.
Yager being restrained by Ulf Samuelsson. He started for the penalty box, then decided he wanted to argue the point, wheeled around, and Samuelson steered him wide of Fawcett, who calls his first penalty here at 9:24. It's been a robust, vigorous game, much more physical than Game 5 was the other night. And in the corner of the rink, at the right-hand part of your screen, that's where the infraction took place. We can get a look at it here somewhere along, right there on Vasky, who ran into it. You see that often, but Jágr gets the call. So the Islanders ahead 2-1. Now get the first power play chance of the night.
Vasky on the Islander bench, and this was a big story in Game 5 too. The Islanders power play and its ineffectiveness. They were 1 for 9, and for these playoffs, 5 for 57. Ferraro out with Delgarno, King, Malikov, and Kurvers. And maybe Kurvers is in the lineup tonight to help get this power play going. Mario to kill the penalty with Ron Francis. Islanders keep it in. Malikov to King, cross ice, there's Kurvers. His shot doesn't get through the traffic. Ferraro back to Kurvers. Cross ice, Malikov in front, cleared, and another penalty coming up. Murphy was dumped, and Derek King's going to get a penalty, and so much for the Islanders' man advantage.
Yeah, they lose it after only 24 seconds of the power play time. You mentioned Tom Kurvers on the power play and playing on the point. Al Arbor's biggest concern, perhaps, in this playoff year has been the lack of production on the power play, but that's a familiar story. Scotty Bowman's team now even Steven with 4 skaters aside. Kurvers played in games 2, 3, and 4 of this series. Told me today I thought I was playing pretty well, but I didn't play. There's where it happens as Murphy hustles to clear the puck and he gets chopped down. That's why the penalty was called. Tom Kurvers said to me, I thought I was playing pretty well. I didn't play in Game 5. I thought Jeff Norton had a good game in Game 5. I'm taking his place tonight, and I can't figure it out.
And Derek King can't figure out that call as he takes a seat in the penalty box. Norton was one of the goal scorers for the Islanders in Game 5.
A controversial goal, or the goal around a controversial time in the game, shall we say, with the penalty that was called after the puck went in, the replay and all of that.
Well, Scotty Bowman analyzes everything, and he was telling us he felt that the padding in that goal net wasn't fixed up right, and that's why pucks were bouncing out of there so quickly. Scotty doesn't miss a trick, does he? Here's David Bullock in the zone. 4 skaters aside right now for a minute 17, and then the Penguins will have a short man advantage. Mario dropping it off to Samuelson. Joe Mullen turning but can't get a shot away, and Kasparaitis starts back with Travis Green and Bullock. Darius Kasparaitis takes a look. Bullock just deflected it wide. Centers it. Green can't bat it. Kasparaitis' shot goes wide. Murphy off the boards and up ahead for Joe Mullen. He had a goal in Game 5, hits the line, and the 36-year-old goes after it behind the net. Kasparaitis knocks it free. Green can't control it, and out at center ice, it's Samuelson and Taglianetti. Over the boards comes Stevens. Dennis Vasky for the Islanders. And he'll just clear it down the ice, and the two sides are even, so icing is the call. You know, Chris, during the Buffalo-Montreal series, as the Sabres fell further behind the Canadiens, remember how the players would come on with Scott and they'd say, we have to play with desperation. That's the way the Islanders are definitely playing here tonight, as they have to do down in this situation. Well, the big guy's shaken up. That's the side of his face that was hit by the puck along in behind the New York net here several minutes ago, off the shot from Loisel. A little bit of a welt showing under the eye. Also was wearing a brace today, or at least a cummerbund around his back to keep it warm. Loose. Samuelson, Taglianetti, shot right on, and the rebound kick to Malikov, and out comes Fitzgerald. He sends it into the Pittsburgh zone. Down to 10 seconds left in the Jágr minor, and then 20 seconds of power play time for the Penguins. Francis up the boards. Jágr not out yet, though. Fitzgerald at the line, and now Jágr on the ice. So the Islanders short-handed for a short period of time. Ulf Samuelsson. Lead pass, here's Lemieux! Shot, kicked out Healy, rebound! And that's cleared away by Brian Mullen. Mario is in alone. Larry Murphy works his way in. Lemieux in front. That's cleared and King's out of the box. Here come the Islanders. Benoit Hogue with King. King shot right on. Rebound, Mullen shot, kick save. Still loose and rolled wide. Close call there. Benoit Hogue to Van Croup the shot. Blocked, rebound. Still loose. Penguins sprawling and Ron Francis gets it to the boards. Francis goes down and a high stick knocks one of the Islanders down. It's Brian Mullen shaken up. Don't believe there'll be a penalty call, but great action at both ends. Breakaway though.
Yeah, okay.
We have blue
Yep.
and blue, go green and red and red. They go around the net, jousting away, and go green comes
Mario.
out the winner. We have go green, blazing blue, and here comes rapid red up to challenge go green to fight for that first position. They go around the net. Out comes rapid red. Now out. Who's going to win? I do not know. But you have the winner when it comes around the finish line. It is.
At the end of that terrific bit of end-to-end action, the stick of Ron Francis right there clips Brian Mullen, who went down on the play. No penalty call. Face-off outside the Pittsburgh line.
7:41 to go, first period. Cleared in by Malakoff, Ferraro, King, and Fitzgerald. For the Islanders, Dave Tippett, Troy Loney, and Rick Tocchet for the Penguins. And it goes into the Islander bench and has everybody ducking.
Dave Tippett from Moosomin, Saskatchewan, a former Hartford Whaler, a much-traveled player who was with the Canadian Olympic team last year and is just one of those handy guys that a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, with all of the superstars at the top of the list, needs. Bit of that action around the Pittsburgh net right after Mario Lemieux's breakaway. Talk about a lift. The Islanders have had a few of them tonight, Chris. The early goal, the hitting, Healy's stop on Lemieux. There's a chance.
Healy misplaying it off the backboard, still loose. Tippett trying to knock it free, backhands it wide. Healy's lost his stick. Here's a shot that hit a leg and went wide, and Malakoff off the boards. Can the Islanders get it out? Yes, they do, and Healy has his stick handed to him by Vasky. Boy, there's been something happening, and it's about every 30 seconds in this first period. Kasparaitis at center. Trying to play it past Jennings. Now centers it. No one home for the Islanders. And Tocchet gives way to Straka. He has the lone goal for Pittsburgh. Wrist shot blocker saved by Healy. Ray Ferraro up ahead to Thomas. Thomas pass broken up by Yager. Taglianetti wheels it back in. Healy. Back pass, and that will go to McEachern. He's tied up. Thomas helping out. Straka watches him. It comes free. Bullock can't clear it. Now Pilon gets it ahead, and finally the Islanders are out and away. Here's Thomas to the line. Gives it off to Bullock. Right side, Croup moving in. Uwe Croup blocked by Samuelsson. In front again. Loose. Thomas shot. That goes off Dave Tippett. Bullock knocks him down. Big hit there. Check that. That's Taglianetti who was on the receiving end. Now Thomas on the right wing. Gives off to Hogue. Bullock's in front. Benoit Hogue. He's tied up with Samuelsson, and they get a whistle, but the action is intense.
Quite a hockey game so far by the New York Islanders. The other night, when you're down 3-0 before a game is 2 minutes old, it's pretty tough to get your act together again. They did a pretty good job of it, all things considered. But here tonight, they jumped into the early lead in the first minute. Taglianetti, as Chris mentioned, involved here in this play with David Volek. They look at each other, they brace for each other, the shoulders meet, and Taglianetti goes down. That pretty well sums up the Islanders tonight. Solid. Although they're certainly not lying back and protecting a one-goal lead, and I think Healy's going to know that. He's had Mario in on him alone. He's had some shots. It's a wide-open hockey game. 18 shots total so far, 9 apiece. when you consider that Pittsburgh had only 18 in the entire game the other night. It's a different story here tonight, a different tempo, and the Islanders have set it.
A lot of the reporters asked Al Arbour after the game, after that first 2 minutes you played the Penguins even, and he said, I don't care, we played lousy. Well, they haven't been lousy tonight. 5:38 to go first period. Delgarno and King have scored for the Islanders. Martin Straka for the Penguins. The Islanders win the draw. Malakhov shot deflecting into the corner, and there's Larry Murphy, a finalist for the Norris Trophy. Giving off to Mike Ramsey and ahead. Ron Francis lead pass. Kevin Stevens shot. Healy with another good stop. Malakhov trying to clear, lost to Mullen. Off the glass, kept in by Murphy. And now Baskey gives chase and flips it out to center. Larry Murphy with a career year at age 32. A Norris finalist with Ray Bourque and Chris Chelios. 5 minutes to go, first period. Baskey ahead to Pilon. He lost it to a bad guy, Mario Lemieux. Larry Murphy. There's the shot. That hit an ankle. Islanders a little sloppy in their own zone, but get it to center. Mario deflects it back in, and Joe Mullins after it. Mullins centering it, off a skate out to center. Samuelson off the glass back in. And the Penguins complete a change as Pilon goes back to get it. He flips it down the ice. Not enough for icing as Jennings gets it for Pittsburgh.
Watch it.
Shell Samuelson at center. Long shot wide of the goal. Asperitis back for the Islanders. Over the head of Daniels out to center. Now a left wing pass for Travis Green. He clears it in behind the goal, and the Islanders change quickly. Curvers with 4 minutes to go in the period. Shell Samuelson ahead to Jágr. Healy was saying today that Jágr could be on the ice by himself and be a threat. 68 with all those moves, but he's headed to the bench. As it looks like Al Arbour and Scotty Bowman are doing some juggling to get the right matchups. Kept in at the line by Samuelson. Tocchet behind the goal. Loney knocked down in front, and out come the Islanders. Mullen ahead to Thomas. Held loose on the right wing. Thomas clearing it in. Mullen centers it. That comes out to the line, and Tocchet starts back for Pittsburgh with Troy Loney. Loney against Malakhov. Knocked back to Ulf Samuelson. His shot deflecting over the crossbar off the stick of Loney. Brian Mullen on the near side, flipping it out to center. Taglianetti for Pittsburgh, back in. That hit Baskey. And Dennis Baskey turns to Ferraro. Ray Ferraro. And he can't get by Taglianetti, who has them all tied up. Rick Tocchet for the Penguins. Lemieux trying to barge through again. He was cut off. And Malakhov for the Islanders. Around the boards. And there's the rookie Junker. Out to center. Former Spokane junior. Played all this season with Capital District. Mario. Stopped at Asperitis. Ahead to Junker. And center knocked down by Loiselle. And he flips it in. Travis Green after it. Kevin Stevens clears to center. And now Delgarno back to Pilon. Ramsey touching it, and icing is the call. Down to 2:04 left in the first period on Long Island, and the home team up by a goal.
Thing in here tonight, they just put a sign up on the board here at the Coliseum. The 8 goals scored in the third period here last Saturday night, Game 4, one shy of an NHL playoff record, most goals, one period. Only had 3 of them here tonight so far, 2-1. Islanders lead the Penguins.
Murphy at the point off that face-off, off Healy and into the crowd.
We are exactly 2 minutes away from the end of this first period and our first intermission. And Steve Thomas of the Islanders, their number 32, will be Scott Russell's guest in the intermission studio. Steve hit the post on that sequence that ended up with the Penguins scoring. I asked Steve today if he'd ever been called the winner of the Mike Bossy lookalike contest. He said, yeah, people have mentioned it to me. He said, I wish I could shoot the puck the way he used to. What hockey player doesn't?
Absolutely.
Wish that.
Steve looking for his first goal of this series, and the way he's going, it might be tonight. Had a couple of assists in Game 5, and a couple of great chances here in the first period. Scrum along the boards, but Keckern works it free. There's Ron Francis. Group has Francis tied up. Mullen centers it, then McEachern deflected it into the corner. Sean McEachern is in a bit of a slump. He's gone scoreless in the last 7 games. Bullock at center ice for the Islanders. Backhanding it in on Barrasso, and Bullock took a hit. And here's Francis, 100 points during the regular season to Joe Mullen. The veterans hit the line, and Mullen's shot off Baskey into the corner. Cleared off the boards, but kept in by Murphy. Rink wide, the Penguins were changing, and no one was home. Now Lemieux back on the ice for the final minute of the period with Stevens centered, and Fitzgerald is there. Under a minute to go. Lemieux takes it away from Baskey, and Baskey recovers nicely. Tocchet to the point. Jennings pounds it in, and that deflects into the crowd.
Well, the Penguins starting to put a little bit of pressure on. 2 turnovers there off the stick of Tom Fitzgerald. One of them to Mario, but they couldn't do much about it. There's 48 seconds left. Consider this series. Lemieux played, what, 1 shift in 1 game, 4 minutes in another game. Yet the Penguins are still up. Talk about desperation. Looks that way, the 2 coaches.
The 199th playoff game of Al Arbour's coaching career.
Well, Lorne Henning and Al Arbour, plus the other assistant coach, Rick Green, all have Stanley Cup rings as players. And Al won with 3 different teams. You're asking me, has anybody else ever done that? I don't know. Good question.
Kasparaitis around the boards. Jennings pinching in there. Now it's cleared by Delgarno out to center. And Stevens turns. Because of all those penalties in Game 5, Kevin Stevens just played 12 minutes, and he was a little frustrated by that.
Yeah, who else was frustrated, according to Scotty, was Ron Francis, because the other way around, he had to play so much in a penalty-killing role. And, you know, you talk about Francis getting the 100 points. You have to use a player like that to kill penalties all the time. It's not good. There's Loiselle and Delgarno, and they are in the faces of Messrs. Lemieux and Stevens. Mario's line is -1 with that early goal. Scored against them by Delgarno, Brad Delgarno.
26.9 seconds to go here in the period. Well, you mentioned Francis, 23 minutes, but over half that was penalty killing. Hard to fatten your stats, but Ron Francis, such a valuable guy for the Penguins at both ends of the ice. Supplied the offense when Mario was sick. When Mario's back, he's more of a defensive player. 2-line offside called against Delgarno as he tried to burst in on that right wing.
Shots are close. These teams have had a wide open type of period, and the Islanders might wish they were a little more ahead considering the kind of a period they've played. The wildest moments, Chris, that you've described have been in front of the Pittsburgh net. They come awfully close to getting at least 1 more goal. And they were bad luck a couple of times with the puck hitting somebody's leg in front and all of that. But they are giving the Penguins a totally different type of game to handle here tonight than they did 2 nights ago.
Now Loiselle fencing with Tocchet. He had a good close-up of Brad Delgarno a few moments ago, who scored the first goal of the game. Retired from the game in 89-90, but has made a successful return as the Penguins get a shot on goal. Kasparaitis around the glass. He'll send it down, and this could be icing, and a face-off could result late in this period as Murphy touches. 7.4 seconds to go, and Samuelson takes Loiselle into the boards. And there's no doubt number 10 is a target.
We've got a dandy hockey game so far here tonight, except for this last 38 seconds of the period, which seems to be taking a long, long time. Well, Loiselle, pretty tough job. It's apparent that Al Arbour is using the Loiselle line against the Lemieux line whenever he can. And he gets the last change, of course, in this building.
Claude's been in the league 12 years as a journeyman player, but he certainly fills a role for the Islanders. His 15th and he has been a thorn in Mario's side in this series. Loiselle was with the New Jersey Devils when they went to the Final Four in that run of 1988. And now Loiselle again jockeying with Tocchet. And they're moving before Wayne Bonney drops the puck. Big face-off here, and Francis up against Travis Green.
Yeah, 4 forwards on for Pittsburgh. Mario back as a point man here, with Francis the extra forward put on to take the face-off, but maybe he won't take the face-off. And Wayne Bonney, I think, has ordered both Francis and Green out of the circle, so Lemieux, who hasn't been taking very many face-offs except at center ice these last couple of nights, is there now.
He'll go toe-to-toe with Loiselle, and Loiselle wins the draw into the corner. It comes back for Murphy. His shot blocked. Murphy in the slot again, but time expires as Tocchet jostles a bit in front with Pilon. Nothing will come of that.
Now they gather around, and there goes Glenn Healy very confidently off the ice, exactly the way he played that period, in very confident fashion. We talked about the players up in front of them playing a desperate kind of a game, which they have to do, but I'll tell you, Healy backstopped them, and the save he made off Mario when Lemieux got in behind, perfect play at the blue line in alone, was a big one.
Steve Thomas will be Scott Russell's guest in our first intermission. Good first period. The shots 12-9 in favor of the Penguins. But the score at the end of the first period here at the Nassau Coliseum, the Islanders 2, the Penguins 1.
Barrasso, and the score remains 2-1 for the New York Islanders. Steve, a different approach by your team as you headed out for Game 6.
Yeah, we remember Game 5 where they came out and scored 3 quick goals on us, and we figured we'd pay them back in our building and come out really strong, and we did. Brad Delgarno, Travis Green, and I can't remember
one of those other guys.
Anyway, they're doing a great job in checking the Lemieux line, and we need that, and that's going to win us a hockey game.
Interesting sign on the Islander dressing room. It says very simply, winning is fun. Let us in on that. Is that from Al Arbour?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, especially when you're this far in the playoffs, especially beating this team. We've beaten them twice already. Tonight, hopefully, will be the third time, and go 7 games with them, and it's you never know what happens in 7 games. Could be a couple of bounces in our direction, and we could steal a game off them.
I know Pierre Turgeon is out of the lineup, and the whole team is disappointed about that, especially when it happened against Washington. Did it give more responsibility to guys like yourself that you had to pick up the slack offensively?
Absolutely. Although I haven't done too much in this round, I haven't got any goals yet, but Pierre Turgeon's a cog in our wheel, I think, and when he's out there, our power play is working, and our team's going pretty well. It's hard to adjust because when I was playing with him and Derek King, we didn't seem to dump the puck in as much as we have been now, and I'm not really that used to it. It's a little harder to get over that line and get in and forward check, but it's been effective tonight, and if we can exploit their defense, then I think we'll win the hockey game.
Steve, you've seen the interest grow again at Nassau Coliseum. For a while there, the Islanders were a franchise that didn't draw a lot of fans. They weren't winning, and now all of a sudden the fans are back there and behind you. Is that a good feeling to see it grow?
It's a great feeling, and it's good for this franchise. Over the last couple of years, last 3 years, they hadn't made the playoffs, and this year we finally made it, and the fans are starting to get more involved in hockey in Long Island, and it's pretty exciting. And I'm happy they're here because they really help us a lot.
Last question, Steve, and it's a simple one. Can the Giant Killers do it again and stave off elimination? And if so, how will you do it?
Well, all through the season, our backs seem to be against the wall. Big games come up, and we seem to come up big playing them. And hopefully tonight's just another one of those games with our back against the wall. And I think over the first period we showed that we came out wanting to win this hockey game, not being intimidated at all by the Pittsburgh Penguins, and tried to take the play to them. And hopefully we can win tonight and go for the 7th game over in Pittsburgh. And it'll be a big boost for us. There's a lot of character on our hockey team. There's only 7 guys that have been in the playoffs, and it shows a lot that our guys are really ready to go.
Steve, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Steve Thomas of the New York Islanders. The Islanders lead the Pittsburgh Penguins 2-1 after 1 period of play in this, the Patrick Final, game number 6. Coming up next, Ford's great playoff goaltenders and the great Jerry Cheevers. Once again, it is 2-1 Islanders after 1. Our first intermission continues.
While both goaltenders tested, Tom Barrasso's had the edge in the series, but Glenn Healy had the edge in the first period of game number 6 in this Patrick Final from the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, where the Islanders lead 2-1 after 20 minutes of play.
Well, I've got a minute here. I'd like to mention a telegram that's posted in the Pittsburgh Penguins dressing room back at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh to Mario Lemieux from Dennis Bird, congratulating Mario on his comeback after he underwent treatment for Hodgkin's disease. Now, Dennis Bird is the New York Jet football player who broke his neck in a game back on November 29th when the Jets played the Kansas City Chiefs. And he knew from whereof he spoke, certainly, to do something like that to somebody like Mario who went through what he went through. Bird himself has made a remarkable recovery. He's gone from the hospital bed to a wheelchair to walking with 2 gains to walking with 1 cane. And now they claim he walks with his black cowboy boots on. It's a remarkable story and a very classy move by Dennis Bird to appreciate what Mario Lemieux went through. And the telegram, a very touching telegram, is posted on the board in the Penguins dressing room back in Pittsburgh.
Prior to the start of the second period, here's how the scoring unfolded. An early start. Brad Delgarno, his second of the playoffs, 25 seconds in. Martin Straka tied it for Pittsburgh, but the Islanders answered that 32 seconds later. Derek King with his 3rd goal of the playoffs and this series. And, as you can see, the Penguins outshooting the Islanders. The Islanders have outshot the Penguins in each of the first 5 games, yet the Penguins scored first in each of the first 5 games, so a couple of trends have been reversed here tonight. Ready for period 2. Mario Lemieux on the ice with Kevin Stevens and Rick Tocchet, Travis Green, Brad Delgarno, and Claude Loiselle for the New York Islanders as Murphy sends it in. Delgarno chops at it, kept in by the point man Ramsey in front of the net. Healy had to make a stop. Lemieux tries to get it back to Murphy. And Mario knocked off the puck and the Islanders clear to center. Remember, in Game 5, the Penguins scored in the first minute of the first 2 periods. And they're looking for a quick start here, but the pass cut off by Loiselle. Murphy to Stevens. Stevens, the wrist shot. That goes wide. Loiselle to Travis Green. Green's return pass hit the skate of Mario, and the Islanders make a change. Puck cleared outside the line, knocked down by Delgarno. Off the bench is Benoit Hode. Here's Dennis Vaski to Hode. His shot banned on Mullen's side of the net. Knocked away by Samuelson, and here comes Mario. Rick Tocchet loose on right wing. Lemieux in, shot, scores! Mario Lemieux.
You don't get caught with 1 defenseman back against these guys. And we've got a tie hockey game 2-2. There was a play deep in the Pittsburgh zone. Vaski, I believe it is, the defenseman who gets caught up the ice. So that springs really a 2.5 on 1. Stevens trailing. Tocchet was on the right side. You saw the space between Healy's legs. More importantly, so did Mario. We had a better look at it. We could look at a replay. He couldn't. He threads the needle. It sliced in. It seemed to go off the stick, through the legs, up into the net. And the big guy connects, and it's a tie hockey game. But the Islanders got caught with only 1 man back on Lemieux, Tocchet, and Stevens.
It's Mario's 8th goal of the playoffs, his 52nd in Stanley Cup play. 66, 76 seconds into the second period, and we're tied at 2. So the Islanders, who went to the dressing room with all the momentum, and now the Penguins have taken it away here early in the second period.
Tom Barrasso got an assist on the play.
Here's Daniels with the steal, his shot going wide. And for Barrasso, that's his 3rd of the playoffs.
Yeah, he led all goaltenders in the regular season with 8. But that one, that just came off the save as opposed to a play that he often makes.
The official scoring play. Lemieux from Samuelson, Ulf Samuelson, and Barrasso at 1:16. Rink-wide pass, King, and now they say it came outside the line as Jágr thought he kept it in and had a chance.
They have so many dangerous players, Chris. You just saw what Mario did. Yager has yet really to become dangerous. Boy, last year in the playoffs it was highlight reel time, some of the moves that he made and some of the goals he scored in the series against New York, the Rangers, and then the Blackhawks.
Could you believe when we left the Coliseum today?
Yeah.
12:40. He's still out there playing shinny with all the other players on the Penguins who aren't in action tonight. This guy loves to play.
He might have missed the bus for the regulars to take them back for the meal.
Benoit Hogue, Steve Thomas, Brian Mullen for the Islanders, Dave Tippett, Yager, Loney for the Penguins. Off the boards ahead to Brian Mullen. Now Vasky steps up in the play. Knifes it into the zone, but the Penguins have possession there. Dave Tippett, nice move. And he'll backhand it into the Islanders zone. Dave Tippett acquired as a free agent by the Penguins after losing Phil Bourque and Brian Trottier. He sends it in front, and Healy covers up with Troy Loney swatting at the puck in the glove of Healy.
Now there's a name, Brian Trottier, just to bring you up to date on Brian. 4 Stanley Cups here in New York, the last 2 in Pittsburgh, 6 for him in his career. He retired. He's now a front office member of the Islanders organization and runs a hockey school on Long Island in the summertime. A 2-2 tie here right now. You know, here's a chance the save, the cover-up, and a little bit of pushing afterwards. Mentioning Brian Trottier and the 4 straight Stanley Cups. And the pennants to signify same hanging from the rafters here at the Nassau Coliseum. The Veterans Memorial Coliseum, as Chris correctly said here a moment ago, the building dedicated to Americans who have lost their lives in the service of their country.
4 straight Stanley Cups. Islanders last to do it. Penguins halfway to matching that feat. And these young Islanders would like to stand in their way. Kasparaitis to the line. He's tripped up, but play continues. Lemieux out on the right side. Tocchet gives chase against Pilon. Tocchet steals. Mario! What a shot! And Healy got a pad on that. Didn't look like Mario could get real good wood on it, but did he ever?
Boy, he's upset. He just sort of got upset with himself about that. The talents of Mario Lemieux. He gets this shot away, just lets it go, and almost goes in. He doesn't even follow through. He just whips the stick. He follows through more with his pitching wedge, which I hear he's pretty good with, too, than he did with that one. That had some moxie on it, that shot.
Murphy ahead to the Penguin captain again on left wing to Stevens. Kevin Stevens centers in front. Tocchet was there, watched by Kasparaitis. Kasparaitis checked by Murphy. Good job to keep it in. Larry Murphy, the shot goes wide. Tocchet behind the goal. Now Ulf Samuelsson pinching in against Wazell. Kasparaitis off the boards, kept in by Murphy. The Penguins defensemen are turning up the pressure here as they pinch in and keep the puck in the Islander zone. Side of the net, Healy the stop off Stevens. And we've got an injured New York Islander, and it's Darius Kasparaitis.
Well, you know, he's only 20 years old. Doesn't want to be said to be from Russia. He's a Lithuanian. He's cut here.
Please report to security.
We talk about the matchups on the forward line against the Mario Lemieux forward line, for example. But in this game, the Islanders are putting Rich Pilon and Darius Kasparaitis on against the Lemieux line. Teams do that. They want certain defensemen on against certain big forward lines. There's Kasparaitis, the Lithuanian, and Pilon from Saskatoon, and they've got the job. That breakaway that Mario had, you might have seen it on the highlight package of saves. It was Pilon who sort of rode him off. Now there's Kasparaitis going up, and you wonder the stick wasn't up. I wonder if maybe the visor cut him there. I don't know what happened there. He's going to the dressing room anyway.
It's been a tough couple of days for him. He wrapped his luxury car around a light standard in the Coliseum parking lot yesterday. They had to get a forklift out to pry the car off the light standard.
Closed captioning of this telecast provided by Household, providing Canadians with a family of financial services.
4 minutes, 13 seconds into the second period. A 2-2 tie on Mario's goal at 1:16 of the second period. Here's Travis Green to the line. Oh, he took a high stick from Ron Francis, and this one will be called.
Yep, and watch out here. Is he cut? If he is, the Penguins could lose a big guy for the rest of the night.
Boy, you could hear the thud up here.
2 high sticks in a row. He steps around Jennings. In behind is Francis. Now, we'll wait for the call here on this one. Green goes down. Another look at it from the lower angle. And you see the stick, the blade of the stick, and Francis is gone for the night. He's going to get a 5-minute major penalty and a game misconduct. And the Penguins lose a very valuable player early in this second period.
5 minutes for high sticking and a game misconduct.
You know, the other night in Pittsburgh with all of the penalties, Chris, he might have been their most valuable player when the thing was all said and done with the amount of time he spent on the ice as a penalty killer. That's only the second major penalty call in this series. In the second game, Steve Thomas received a game misconduct, 5-minute high sticking and game. So Scotty Bowman, the wheels turn now because he's got to adjust his forward lines. And Francis is such an important player. He takes key faceoffs. We saw that late in the first period. He takes key faceoffs at both ends of the ice. He kills penalties. He appears on the power play. Now he's gone for the rest of this evening.
Travis Green will have to wait his turn because Kasparidis, I'm sure, is getting stitched up too. So a tough sequence for the Islanders, but out of it they'll get a 5-minute man advantage as we take another look.
Francis from in behind, and there's no doubt about that one, and there was no argument from the Penguins, or especially from Ron Francis.
Had a chance to talk to Travis Green this morning. I mentioned in Game 5 he was a native of Preston, BC, but he said he grew up in Castlegar and wanted me to make sure I mentioned that. One of his boyhood chums is Steve Junker, who is playing in his first NHL game tonight.
So all of this in a 2-2 tie at 4:24 in this second period. The Penguins came from behind on the Mario goal to make it 2-2 early in this period. New York, Chris, hasn't had a shot on goal in this second period so far. Now they're on a 5-minute power play.
And that power play we've discussed a lot. Really been the focus here on Long Island. The problems with the man advantage. Well, they've got a big opportunity here to change that. Malakoff clears it in. Up front, Ferraro with Delgarno and King, and Barrasso flipped it up.
He got lucky. It deflected off the glass. The Islanders went to Fawcett and said, how about a 2-minute penalty for delay of game against the goaltender? But Fawcett made the motion that it ricocheted off the glass. The Islanders do that, but they try anyway. Face-off in the Pittsburgh zone. Yeah, Tom Barrasso handles the puck very well. Maybe he doesn't get the publicity that Ron Hextall did, you know, adding the goaltender, adding something to the team's offense, but he had those 8 assists this year, and he's got one here tonight.
Lemieux and Joe Mullen killing the penalty with Larry Murphy and Ulf Samuelsson. A major penalty to Ron Francis. See if it's a major turning point in this game. Down the ice it rolls, Mullen giving chase, but Kerbers gets back first. Delgarno turns, cross ice to King. Derek King has a goal tonight for the Islanders. Wrapped it around the boards. Ferraro in the corner, watched by Murphy. King back to the point. Cross ice, Malakoff, shot right on, and it just bounced wide of the mark. Kerbers' shot doesn't get through. Knocked by Samuelsson to the corner. Murphy can't clear it, kept in. Kerbers tries to get it across. Mullen chopped with Kerbers. Nice move. Tied up, can't center it. Here's King. Shot, Barrasso save. Knocked out of midair by Mullen. Kept in by the Islanders. Malakoff at the point. Watched by Mullen. Derek King. Back to Malakoff. King. Malakoff shot. Off Delgarno and knocked wide. Kerbers pinching in. Murphy tries to clear it. And it's over the glass, out of play. 3:20 to go in the major penalty.
And the Penguins coach is kind of glad for that particular turn with the puck going out of play, because he had a tired couple of forwards out there, Mario and Joe Mullen. And he gets them off now. In fact, the Penguins make a complete change. Now, Arbor is upset because they've ruled the faceoff will be outside the Pittsburgh blue line. In other words, in the official's opinion, the puck deflected off an Islanders stick directly out of play. New York arguing that a Pittsburgh player got to it before it completely disappeared into the crowd. Well, they really throw it around, and maybe we'll be able to see here. Ray Ferraro had a pretty good chance at the side of the crease. So some good pressure by New York, and a bit of a stall here by Pittsburgh as Tom Barrasso asks for a new stick. But there's also a stall at the other end because Glenn Healy's down. I don't know if he's tying his skate or what he's doing, adjusting his pad. So both goaltenders needing equipment help right here. 3:20 remaining in the major penalty that was assessed to Ron Francis. A high-sticking major. He also receives a game misconduct. And now Ron Francis was booked as our second intermission guest with Scott Russell. Sometimes when players get thrown out, they don't like to come on, they get upset, and you can't blame them. But Ron has just confirmed to Scott that, yes, I'll be there. So we'll get his side of that particular story. Now, at the other end of the ice, from where Tom Barrasso has his new goal stick, Glenn Healy holds things up. You know, Chris, usually it's a goaltender who's under fire. The old-timers were great on this. Oh, my, the strap suddenly came undone here and holds things up. But Healy did it with his team on a 5-minute power play. Well, here's a look at Pittsburgh's just an amazing record of late, going back to their last 20 playoff games. They've lost only 3. However, in deciding games, now this is before the big team in Pittsburgh. The Islanders dominated them in the playoffs. And on the road, the mark of a Stanley Cup winner. They win on the road as well as at home, 7 of their last 9.
Set a club record this year with 24 wins away from home. And we're ready to go again. Islanders still on a power play for the next 3:15. Curvers and Krupp, Hogue, Ryan Mullen, Steve Thomas. And Curvers sends it in. First man after it is Hogue, bounced over his stick. Now he's got it. Thomas, side of the net. Back to Krupp. And Curvers, there's the shot, doesn't get through. Thomas, and a big stop by Barrasso. Steve Thomas looking for that elusive first goal in this series. What a chance. Curvers again. He's the quarterback tonight on the power play. Usually it's Pierre Turgeon. Barrasso gets it off Mullen's glove out to center. Here's Brian Mullen turning back in the zone with Thomas. There's the shot. Hit Taglianetti, and a chance for Joe Mullen to clear, and he gets it to center, and Mario was cruising. You've got to be wary of the Penguins even when they're shorthanded. Lemieux in his own zone, around the boards. Krupp keeps it in. There's Thomas, pushing it to Mullen. In front, they score! Ray Ferraro!
New York regains the lead. Brian Mullen had been knocked down at the side of the net and seemed to be out of the play. But he got up and he beat in behind the Pittsburgh net. He beat Taglianetti to the puck after he had seemingly been eliminated from the play. And there's Ferraro with 2 Pittsburgh Penguins in behind the net. And he stepped in front of Mario, who had originally failed to clear the puck out of the zone on a wraparound try. And he just pulls it around with a dandy backhand for his 12th playoff goal and the lead goal here for New York.
Third time the Islanders have had the lead. They're still on the power play for 1:55. Here he comes again to Derek King. Back to Malakoff. We'll give you the scoring play in a moment. Ferraro behind the net leaves it for Derek King. Islanders leading 3-2. King in the corner for Ferraro. His centering pass broken up by Murphy, knocked down. Here come the Pens. Tip it and talk it. 2-on-1, back to Tippett, backhand right on. Healy covers and now pushes it free. Minute 23 to go in the man advantage. And the goal scorer, Ferraro, clearing it in. Thomas and Mullen got the assist, 7:22 time of the goal as Barrasso clears it down. It's the 12th goal of the playoffs for Ferraro, his 4th on the power play. He had just 14 goals in the regular season, which was cut short by a broken leg. Uwe Krupp on the move. Back to the point, Malakoff, wrist shot deflecting wide. Islanders on it, Thomas. At the point, Hogue, Steve Thomas, cross ice. Oh, and a big stop there as Krupp took the shot. Hogue at the point again. Tied up by Mario Lemieux in the slot. Back to Malakoff and over his stick. Half minute to go in the major penalty to Francis. Bad change by the Pens and Thomas almost got loose. But the Penguins recover and Samuelsson clears it down. Thomas now without a helmet. Here's the last rush for the Islanders with this man advantage. Curvers to center. Left wing feed for Mullen. Behind the net, Samuelsson to the point, kept in by Vaski. Steve Thomas tied up by Samuelsson. They get sticks up. And the puck is cleared, and now the Pens back at full strength. Thomas trapped in the zone. Vaski had to wait up, and now he gets out. Thomas was really going with Samuelsson. Here they go again. Good duel between those two, and finally penalty or penalties coming up. Let's get the call from Mark Fawcett. And it looks like it's Samuelsson who continues at Steve Thomas.
What's the time of the penalties? So this one ended at 4:24. No, it's the 48. The Penguins have just come back to full strength after the expiration of the major penalty when they get another penalty. And here we go again, Scotty Bowman's penalty stat. Both Samuelsson and Steve Thomas have been hammering one another throughout the shift. And there was just a little bit, one more hammer, and Samuelsson was judged to have been the one who threw it. Thomas got the stick up, gets the stick up again. Samuelsson retaliates, throws the left hand. That's when the penalty call was made. He's in the box. Now, I don't know, the referee is over at the Islanders bench. Is he looking to see if Thomas has been cut? No, there's this Healy equipment problem. Yeah, okay.
And there's Kasparaitis back, and he got quite an ovation as he came back after the stitch job.
It was a good start this period, Chris, for Pittsburgh. They got the early goal. They set the Islanders back on their heels. They couldn't cash in with another one. Now the penalty to Francis, followed by this penalty to Samuelsson. And I'll tell you, we're right in the middle of the crowd here, folks. So we might be yelling a little bit more than we usually do in the safety of a broadcast booth. But it is loud at the Nassau Coliseum.
3-2 Islanders lead. We're halfway through the second period. And everybody was moving before that puck was dropped.
Steve Thomas talking with Scott in the intermission about the renewed interest by the fans here. I know that about halfway through the season, the Montreal Canadiens played a game in here. It was the smallest crowd the Canadiens played before this past season. Just a little over 8,000. It's a pretty sad sight to see. But obviously, the folks have come back.
Puck did not stay in, and Krupp has to regroup at center ice. Lemieux and Mullen are the penalty killers. Ferraro, who has the go-ahead goal, back out for the Islanders with Derek King and Brad Delcarno. So the three forwards are the three goal scorers for the Islanders tonight. Krupp to the line. Can't get through, and Mullen turns them back. The smooth skating Vladimir Malakoff. He's hit at the line by Ramsey. Barrasso around the boards, and Tocchet tips it out to center. King back and Tippett on the ice. Here's Tocchet bringing it in offside. Another step, and he might have had a break.
Yeah, Derek King says thank you very much. That would have been quite a giveaway, and he would have had to scramble to try to cover on Tocchet with plenty of open ice inside the New York line. Another collision. Malakoff being written down.
Hit by Mike Ramsey, and what an addition Ramsey's been. In 23 games with the Penguins, he is plus 25.
And playing right now on a gimpy ankle. But
he's the plus-minus leader in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Plus 12, Mike Ramsey in his 14th NHL season. Tom Curvers sends it in. Samuelson chopped at it. Taglianetti reaching for it, and he'll skate out with it. Lost possession to Vaski. Dave Tippett is there. Watched by Thomas. He gets it to Rick Tocchet. Tocchet is dumped, looks for a penalty, not coming. And Brian Mullen clears it back in with 42 seconds left in the penalty. Mullen flips to the corner. Samuelson knocked off the puck. Thomas to Curvers. Can't get the backhand away. High pass and a bouncing puck. Here's Thomas. Shooting, scores! Steve Thomas!
Four goals tonight have originated either from the corner of the rink or from behind the Pittsburgh net. Curvers had jumped into the play when he saw an opening in front, and here it is, a loose puck. It just lay there, nobody covering for the Penguins. Steve Thomas finally beats Tom Barrasso, and it's a 4-2 Pittsburgh lead. Or Islanders lead, rather. But they've had a little bit too much room to meander about around the Pittsburgh goal area, and they have taken advantage of that for sure.
Well, Thomas mentioned to Scott he hadn't contributed since the injury to Pierre Turgeon. Well, he changed it now as he gets to Barrasso, and the Islanders have a 2-goal lead for the first time in the game.
That camera angle a bit deceiving. Tippett wasn't that close to Thomas. Not much toughness shown by the Penguins in the area of their goal crease. And the Islanders have been able to move in rather freely, and boy, they have picked their spots. So it's big comeback time for the Penguins if they're to avoid playing a 7th game Friday night in Pittsburgh.
Another power play goal. The Islanders needed that. Well, they've got a couple tonight. One on the Francis Major, and then that Samuelson minor penalty, and a 2-goal lead. Out at center ice, Martin Straka for the Penguins. Kevin Stevens shot right on, rebound, cleared by Fitzgerald. He overskates it and has to go back to get it. 8 minutes, 5 seconds to go, second period. And it's 4-2 Islanders. Steve Thomas, his 4th of the playoffs, first of this series. Curvers and Hogue get the assists. Mick Vakota on the ice, bumped by Straka. Malakoff clears it, not out though, and the Penguins go after it with Jágr. Healy under the net, and they score. Red light slow to come on, but Healy got trapped, and the Pens back within 1.
Boy, Jaromir Jágr took a big hit to make the play behind the Islanders' net. Straka with his 2nd goal of the game, but the net was wide open. Jágr took a pretty good jolt up against the boards and the glass in behind, but still managed to get the puck out in front. Healy goes around to cover and gets caught in the traffic right there. And Jágr jumps away from the traffic. Healy scrambles, but not quickly enough, and it's a 1-goal hockey game. Volek couldn't quite make it.
This puck looked like it was outside the line.
No, it didn't quite make it. And the traffic, but Jágr battles his way through it. Fine play by Jágr, and the empty net is there for Straka to take advantage of. And it's shootout time again. at the Coliseum. These teams come up with 11 goals in a little over 20 minutes in Game 4. And 7 of them scored here, just past the halfway mark of regulation time.
Well, let me rephrase that. It looked like it was going outside the line, but Stevens made a great play. No question he kept it in. And then Yager with the bump on Healy and the pass. And the Penguins right back in the hockey game. 4-3. Islanders with the lead. Martin Straka's second. Yager and Stevens on the assist. And Mario Lemieux knocking Loiselle down, or Kasparaitis, who gets up and knocks Lemieux flat. And play continues, and now Kasparaitis goes back at Lemieux. And Fawcett didn't see it. Oh boy. Here's Rick Tocchet to Mario. Kasparaitis on him again. Down he goes. This time he'll get called. And Kasparaitis is going to be the marked man instead of Loiselle, and now he's hot with Fawcett. I can't believe he's surprised that that last play was called.
20-year-old Kasparaitis got just a little carried away. He got away with it, but not this time. Bingo on Mario, pretty obvious, and Fawcett had to call that. The Pittsburgh bench was really wild that he hadn't called it earlier.
Time of the penalty is 13-15.
And vice versa. Now here's how it all started. In the corner to the left of the Islanders' net. That's the first takedown by Kasparaitis. Mario's down, and he gives him another little shove. Mario goes down a little bit there to draw attention to the fact, although his helmet was knocked askew. Now they come back at each other, and the left hand that time into Mario's face. Meets Mark Fawcett, says enough's enough. Kasparaitis really after Mario and gets the 2 minutes. So now with a 4-3 score, Islanders, Pittsburgh's on the power play.
They tell me, Dick, that Kasparaitis really went at Mark Messier in a few games against the Rangers this year. He doesn't pick his spots, but it's a big spot for the Penguins to get back on even terms in this one. Islanders clear it. Second power play for the Penguins. 0 for 1. Stevens. 6:18 to go. Second period. 4-3. Islanders lead. Samuelson to Stevens. To Tocchet. And he'll clear it in. Big Krupp chance to get it out. He hit a teammate and it bounced off a stick out of play. That hit Dennis Vasky's stick and goes over the glass.
They could try that play for an hour and he wouldn't hit Vasky's stick. There was a clear path up the center ice lane for the puck to be cleared down the ice. Krupp let it go, and Vasky didn't even see it. It hit his stick and went over the glass. Well, the wandering goaltender gets caught again. This time Glenn Healy on that last goal by Pittsburgh in the traffic, and Yager with an excellent second effort for the Penguins sets up Straka. Mario the target here tonight, one way or another, early in the game if you just joined it. Hit on the side of the face with a puck. And there's Kasparaitis in the penalty box. He's scarred up tonight.
Target of the fans, too. The fans getting on Mario after the penalty to Kasparaitis was called. Here's Stevens. Mario behind the goal. Stevens in front. Tocchet. Samuelson cross ice. Murphy can't get to it. Loiselle couldn't clear it. Lemieux to Tocchet. Trying to put it in front. Stevens scores! Kevin Stevens has tied it on a Penguin power play.
Loiselle on the far side failed to clear the zone. That kept it in play. And we've got a tie hockey game. I talked about a Pittsburgh comeback. Well, they were down 4-2, and rather quickly now it's 4-4. But Lemieux and Tocchet had a couple of cracks at making a play. They did that time. The puck deflects off a stick in front, and Stevens battles it past Healy. So a very basic Pittsburgh play. There's Loiselle unable to clear the zone. Lemieux to Tocchet, and there's Stevens picking up the deflected puck and putting it home. But Mario and Tocchet had tried back and forth a couple of times on that power play to make something click. Mario put the pass right on the tape. And Stevens barely gets his stick on it, but enough. And the power play goal makes it 4-4. Long way to go yet, Chris. A few more goals, no doubt.
You mentioned the comeback, Dick. Thomas had given the Islanders a 2-goal lead at 11:20. But 3 minutes and 11 seconds later, the Penguins are back to even at 4-4. And here's Jágr after a loose puck at center. Stevens from Lemieux and Tocchet, 14:31, time of the goal. And a power play goal gets them to even at 4. Healy around the boards. Brian Mullen chopped at it off Samuelson. Jágr turns and bounces it wide. And the Islanders just clear it down the ice. Under 5 minutes to go now in the second period. And the Penguins have bounced back with goals from Straka and Stevens. Chris Cuthbert, Dick Urban, Scott Russell, and the Hockey Night in Canada crew at the Nassau Coliseum. A 4-4 tie in Game 6 of the Patrick Final. Penguins leading this series 3-2, and the Islanders trying to force Game 7. Ray Ferraro, left wing pass, broke it up, and Murphy starts back with Straka. 2 goals tonight to Murphy. Flip shot in on Healy, who kicks it away. Islanders had a 2-goal lead not too long ago. Now they're trying to regain the lead. Play broken up by Taglianetti, sends away Troy Loney. With Straka and Tocchet, they're back in. Here's Martin Straka, shot, Healy down, and the shot was blocked. Derek King along the boards, lost his helmet. Kasparaitis back out there. King can't get loose at center, and now flips it to the corner. Ulf Samuelson ahead past Lemieux, and we've got 3 minutes, 33 seconds to go in the second period, and here is Mario again. Spins in the zone. Back pass in front for Tocchet, and it slides to the side of the net. Stevens in to help out. Back to Grant Jennings. In behind the goal, Kasparaitis. And he'll skate out, the rookie defenseman on the move. Drops it back. Here's Loisel's shot. Rebound. Good save there by Barrasso as Kasparaitis went to the net. He's still up there. Drops it behind the goal. Lemieux clears it around the boards. Tocchet couldn't play it out, but Jennings will. Now Tocchet at center to Lemieux. Dropping it for Stevens. His pass for Tocchet too far. And Delgarno turns back for the Islanders. 4-4 tie, late second period. Proof called on the offside.
2 minutes and 39 seconds left in the second intermission, in the second period rather, until our second intermission, when Ron Francis, who is out of this hockey game with a high-sticking major penalty and a game misconduct. We'll chat with Scott Russell. We'll have a Campbell conference report, the action from last night's games in St. Louis and Vancouver. And Bob Nystrom is going to drop by our studios, the ex-Islander who scored the most famous goal ever scored in this building at 7-11 of overtime in Game 6 of the 1980 Stanley Cup Finals, beating Pete Peters as the New York Islanders won their first Stanley Cup. Not that many years after they played their first NHL game. They joined in 72-73. And of course, it was the first of the 4 straight.
Here's Mullen. Sharp angle shot. Barrasso had trouble with it, but clears it. I'm not sure Bob Nystrom doesn't look about the same right now as he did back in 1980.
Chris, I did a radio game here earlier this year, and as I was walking down after finishing my work, a bunch of guys came out on the ice like 11 o'clock at night, and I thought, oh, a bunch of these guys have rented the ice. And then I look out, and there's Bob Nystrom, and there's Clark Gillies, there's Gary Howlett, there's Lauren Henning. The Islander old-timers were practicing. Great to see them. There's that close call there, Barrasso losing it for a minute, and at the very end of the ice where Bob scored his famous overtime Stanley Cup winning goal.
Saw in that replay that the puck actually deflected off a Penguin defenseman, and that's why Barrasso was handcuffed by the Mullen shot. Ryan, a former New York Ranger, Winnipeg Jet, San Jose Shark. With the Islanders and on a line with Benoit Hogue and Steve Thomas. With 2:20 to go, second period.
Steve Shutt's going to be mad at me. I'm not supposed to call them old-timers. They're legends.
Larry Murphy ahead to Dave Tippett. Malakov rams him into the glass. Mullen knocked down as they hit the line. Kept in by Thomas. In for Mullen. Here's Brian Mullen's shot. Rebound. Behind the net. Mullen's got it. To Benoit Hogue. Pressure by the Islanders. In front. And Barrasso covers as the Islanders look to regain the lead late in the second.
Good line for New York tonight. Hogue, Thomas, and Mullen. And they have been dangerous. Thomas with the goal, of course, earlier in this period. Less than 2 minutes to go. A 4-4 tie and a pretty heavy hit on the far side by the Islanders' other rookie defenseman from across the water, Vladimir Malakov. Malakov and Kasparaitis. There's a language problem, of course, when players arrive on the scene. Rick Green, who coaches the defense, was saying that Kasparaitis is okay. He can understand, but they wonder about Malakov. They have some problems. He's very quiet. He doesn't respond in any language, really. And the coaching staff spends a lot of time wondering if he really does get the message. But he'll learn. And they're two fine young players. Good young defensemen on this team. And one of the best, as you mentioned the other night, Scott LaChance, out for the balance of this playoff year out of the U.S. Olympic team last year. And he's had a fine season.
Great atmosphere in this building that's had so many great moments in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Ferraro discussing this face-off with Gerard Gauthier. And now they drop it in. Ferraro won the draw. They don't get the shot away. Barrasso, money hop off the board straight in front of the net. What did that hit? Barrasso looking behind him. Now Healy at the other end kind of stumbled as he went behind his goal. No wonder you don't like the goaltenders wandering, Dick.
I know coaches that don't like them wandering.
Now up for Fitzgerald. King tried to swat it in, banned on it. Then Shel Samuelson looks for Yager. That slid past the big Penguin winger down the ice. Kasparaitis for Ferraro, past him. Delgarno gives chase, and he has it inside the Penguin line. Flips left wing, Loiselle in front, and Ferraro just missed it. Under a minute to go, second period, a 4-4 tie. Kept in by Kasparaitis. Good thing that could have been a 3-on-1 the other way. At the point, Travis Green banned on it. Here come the Pens, 3-on-2. Larry Murphy to the line with Yager. Yager in, Yager! Oh, what a play, and Glenn Healy has it on the line. And Yager paid a price.
The Penguins an ace away from getting the lead in the final minute of this second period. Kasparaitis gets caught up the ice, and I can tell you, I was watching him. He wasn't in any hurry to get back. Travis Green with Pilon. Pilon's beaten on the play. Green's beaten by Yager. How does Healy stop him? Short side, couldn't quite put it home. Pilon nails Yager after the play is over, and you see the reaction of the young Pittsburgh forward. Look at it here. Let's find out what happened to the puck where we are. We can't see it on that side. It looks like he's beaten. He went too far. He went too far over. His first try hit the side of the net, and Healy recovered for the rebound shot. What a chance that was for Yager. But you were right, Chris. The Islanders lived dangerously at the Pittsburgh blue line, and it finally cost them. And they got caught in the 3-on-2, and both men back, one of them a forward, were beaten on the play by good individual efforts. And then Yager just missing.
And you put an asterisk beside a 3-on-2 when 68 and 66 are coming down the ice, and Larry Murphy no slouch either.
So you see Pilon eliminated from the play. Yager has no trouble walking around Green, hits the side of the net, then can't put the rebound home. Oof. That's the best moves he's made in the 2 games we've seen.
Yeah, he was working on that in that little shinny game. Quarter to 1 today.
That's the assistant coaches.
Works better against the assistant coaches. Mario tied up behind the goal by Travis Green, out in front, shot, scores! Or did he? The light's not on, but Lemieux is jumping, and that puck looked like it went in.
The referee immediately pointed to the face-off circle. What chances the Penguins are getting here in this final minute of the second period. The Yager chance, and then the Lemieux chance. No argument, though, so obviously, even though Mario made like it was in,
the Metniks gets knocked a bit
off the post. Oh, they have been the old game of inches routine here from the lead, and Healy's under fire. Boy, you got a team with the talent that Pittsburgh has, I guess.
Well, there's still time for them here. 20 seconds left. Lemieux kept it in, and now it's out. Travis Green against the glass, and out Krug. And offside the call. 9.7 seconds to go in the second period.
Yeah, with a team like Pittsburgh, with the talent that they have for scoring goals, and the talent from the point, for example, of a Larry Murphy, the teams just have to wonder, boy, like the Islanders right now, the young players, if Pittsburgh were ever to regain the lead right here. I say regain, they haven't had the lead tonight, I don't think. No, that's my fault there. But to get the lead, finally, after all of this, and what chances they've had here in the last little while.
Islanders led 1-0, 2-1, and 4-2, but it's 4-4 as the horn goes to end the second period.
Well, momentum means something, certainly, and you'd have to think that as the second period ends, the Penguins have got it. So the Islanders head to the dressing room to regroup in a tie hockey game, and Yager still talking to himself and wondering about that play where he came oh so close to giving his team the lead.
Well, the Pens showed how explosive they can be even without one of their star players. Ron Francis ejected in the second period, but he'll join Scott Russell in studio in our second intermission. 12-9, the shots on goal favored the Penguins. Score, end of 2, Pittsburgh 4, Islanders 4.
Periods of play in Patrick Final Game 6, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. 4-4, it is a tie and a close game. Here is an incident in the second period of play. Travis Green of the New York Islanders coming down the ice, and number 10 from behind, Ron Francis of the Pittsburgh Penguins. A high stick for that. Ron Francis gets a 5-minute major and a game misconduct. Kind enough to join us now in the studio is Ron Francis. Kept his commitment to us here at Hockey Night in Canada. And Ron, very briefly, your side of the story.
Well, you can see in the replay, he was stick handling. He had the stick out. I went to lift the stick. He pulled it away. And, as anybody who's played the game realizes, when you go and put that much weight on lifting a stick and there's nothing there, you're going to go straight up. And unfortunately, I caught him in the face.
This game seems to have a little bit more vehemence to it. The teams are going at each other. Do you sense an urgency there as this series wanes on?
Well, I think at this time of the year, the stakes are so high, the intensity high's out there, and guys are doing whatever it takes to win. And, when you play a team as many times you do over the course of the season and then 6 more times in the playoffs, you learn to hate a few guys in the opposition. I think you're seeing that in the series.
Ron, you were the leading scorer for the Penguins entering this game tonight, but you mentioned something to me when you came in about the Islanders and what might be a key to their success against you. What was that?
Well, obviously I think Al Arbour's a great coach behind the bench, and he's done an excellent job, I think, all season long with that hockey club and getting them to play the way he wants them to play. They're very disciplined in their style, and he doesn't give you anything. He makes you earn everything you get.
Ron, I know you want to get back to the dressing room. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Ron Francis of the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins and the New York Islanders are tied at 4 after 2 periods of play here at the Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. Coming up next is Bob Nystrom as he recalls a great Islander goal. Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC returns in just a moment.
Long Island for the third period of Game 6 in the Wales final, tied at 4. Will it end tonight? Or will Glenn Healy and the Islanders extend this to a 7th game in Pittsburgh? Islanders got off to a great start tonight. 25 seconds in, Brad Delgarno, Straka tied it, and then it was 2-1 after 1 for the New York Islanders. First early stages, second period, Mario Lemieux ties it, and then 2 power play goals for the Islanders, and they had a 4-2 lead. But very quickly, Straka with his second, Stevens a power play goal, his fourth of the playoffs, had tied it for Pittsburgh, and Tom Barrasso made some big stops, but Dick, it was the Penguins really putting the heat on Glenn Healy late in that second period.
The Islanders may have been fortunate that the period ended and they had time to regroup, because as it did end, the Penguins were coming on very strongly. They had 2 inches away from the goal line situations. First Jágr, then Mario. See what the momentum situation is to start this one. The Islanders got a terrific hand from the crowd as they came out for this third period. They don't want this to be the last period in this building this year. They want to see the Montreal Canadiens in here sometime late next week.
They start with Lemieux, Tocchet, and Stevens for Pittsburgh. Loiselle, Delgarno, Fitzgerald for the Islanders. This has been a matchup most of the night. Pilon from the point. His shot going into the corner. Now Loiselle against the boards behind Tom Barrasso. Delgarno chopping at it. Stevens hounded by Delgarno, and Pilon will drift it right back in. Bouncing puck actually right in on Barrasso. Larry Murphy, long pass, Stevens to Tocchet. One-on-one. There's the shot. Vaski blocked that. And Vladimir Malakov off the boards ahead to Loiselle. Fitzgerald inside the line. The drop pass for Loiselle. His shot well off the mark. Fitzgerald far side. Steve Thomas now out there. A shot from the point went off Thomas. And a lead pass for Lemieux. Tried to sneak in behind the Islanders' defense. Ulf Samuelsson waits as Pittsburgh sends on fresh troops. Jágr's on the ice. He goes after it, but Vaski tips it to center. Hold for the Islanders with Thomas and Mullen. Steve Thomas has a goal tonight. And here comes Straka. Head to Jágr with room. Jágr's shot. Kicked up by Healy. Straka in the corner. The other Czech player with a pair of goals tonight out there with Jágr and Loney. Steve Thomas for the Islanders can't get through that big defense. Martin Straka. Kjell Samuelsson to Jágr. He flips it left wing side, and they're calling it offside. A minute and 48 seconds into this third period, and Jágr looks shaken up.
Pretty warm hockey game tonight. Very warm in New York yesterday. 92 degrees Fahrenheit. We like to talk about records being set at playoff time. That was one. The hottest May 11th in New York City since they started recording the weather temperatures. There's the hit on Jágr that shook him up. That broke the record set May 11th, 1896. Cooler a bit here today in the, low 80s, I guess. Much nicer. But boy, yesterday was something.
And there's a guy who knows all about weather because he gives radio weather reports in Pittsburgh, Jaromir Jágr.
Is that for real, or does he?
Apparently so. I don't know if he knows records dating back to 1896 or not, but
I don't think he keeps them.
Ferraro now on the ice with the youngster Steve Junker, who has seen occasional shifts tonight. Junker 17, 27, Derek King, Vaski behind the net. He'll move it out now to Ferraro at center. There's Junker on the right wing. He flips it in. King looking for it against the boards, but the Penguins clear and Jágr gives chase. Malakov back. Derek King off the boards. Ferraro can't handle it, but King taps it out. Mike Ramsey waiting, taking a look before he cleared it in. Well, King just deflects it out to center. There's Dave Tippett. Healy out of the net, and here's a steal. Mullen tried to jam it, and Healy almost got caught again, but now Thomas starts back. Down the right wing, Thomas, poke check by Ramsey, centers it, and it goes off the skate of Larry Murphy. Curvers, nice pass. Oh, Thomas, great stop, Barrasso, on a bang-bang play in front of the Penguin net. Back comes McEachern, he is checked at center ice. Joe Mullen inside the line. Pass for Tippett, Mullen again, wrist shot high. He whipped that one. And Uwe Krupp takes a chop from Mullen, and Krupp skates to center. This has been a great hockey game. Really in sharp contrast to Game 5. Tippett. His shot blocked back outside the line. Mullen taps it in as he heads to the bench. There's Kasparaitis. Ahead to Delgarno. On the near side, Fitzgerald. Bumped by Taglianetti. Samuelson around. Far side for Stevens. Kevin Stevens to Mario Lemieux. Drops it off for Tocchet. Tocchet flip shot. That was blocked by Pilon. And now the Islanders turn with Delgarno. And Kasparaitis. Darius Kasparaitis for that penalty he took in the second period, roughing up Lemieux. Talked about, I'm sure, in the second intermission. And it led to the Penguins' power play goal. Got it back in it. Claude Loisel sends it in. We've played 4.5 minutes of the third period. Tied at 4 on Long Island. And an offside at the call. You're tempting him.
There's a picture in the Islanders dressing room with a Stanley Cup, and it's written over it, the ultimate goal. Well, William Scott Bowman has reached that ultimate goal 6 times in his NHL coaching career. Only Toe Blake has one more with 8.
And Scotty's attention sharply focused on number 7. But he doesn't want to think about Game 7 in a Patrick final against these Islanders. Junker putting it in front of the net, and it's flipped up over the glass by Grant Jennings.
5:02 gone in the third period in this one. It's tied 4-4. The action resumes tomorrow night. Campbell Conference playoff action from St. Louis. The Leafs and the Blues, 8 o'clock Eastern time on the full network. BC viewers will see their news at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And then the later game at Los Angeles, the Canucks trying to stave off elimination. 7:30 Pacific, our start time on the full network. The viewers in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta will join following the Leafs-Blues game, and the Ontario viewers, Ontario East, following primetime news. That's tomorrow night. Doubleheader time on Hockey Night in Canada.
Ask Glenn Healy about his old teammates in Los Angeles, and I think he's having as much trouble figuring out the Kings as everybody else, because one day they're hot and the next day they're not, but they're in the driver's seat right now in that Smythe final as the puck flips to Barrasso and he covers up.
Pretty hard here, Chris, in this third period to establish any kind of a trend or momentum. The Penguins were not able to sustain the kind of play that they had late in the second period when this one began. Give the Islanders credit for that. You heard Bob Nystrom talking about Al Arbour and the kind of a coach he is. Certainly one of the best. One of the very best in the history of this game. So he sorted things out a little bit in that second intermission, and this period so far, just 5 minutes into it, has been a standoff.
Shots are 26-20 in favor of Pittsburgh. Dave Tippett waved out of the faceoff, told me this morning that he wants to coach when his playing days are over. In fact, considered that a possibility this year before the offer from the Penguins. Here's Krupp at the line, and his shot block comes out to center ice. They Krupp to Tom Kurvers. Krupp at center takes a hit. Tippett after it there. Tried to feed it cross ice, and it gets to Mullen. And now Kurvers takes over for the Islanders ahead to Brian Mullen. So the Mullen brothers out together here, opposing each other. Thomas steals, Ryan's in front, scores! Brian Mullen!
Brian Mullen started the play back in the neutral zone, beating his brother Joe to the puck. That helped get it into the Pittsburgh zone again from in front of the net. The play coming out of the corner to the front of the net. nobody there. Joey trying to catch up to Brian. Number 7 and number 16. Couldn't do it. And the Islanders are back on top at 5:42. But the Penguins haven't shown much toughness deep in their end of the rink. And it costs them again. A clean-cut goal. Thomas having a fine game, setting up Brian Mullen.
It's the Islanders' 4th lead of the game. 5-4 New York. 5:42, time of the goal. Benoit Hogue and Steve Thomas get the assist. Thomas has a goal and 2 assists in this game. And here's Brad Delgarno. Ramsey recovers. Fitzgerald in. Shot Lambrasso. Blocked that. Lemieux at the line. Checked by Fitzgerald. And there's a real buzz in this rink right now. Tocchet hooked by Loiselle. Stays on it. Now dumped by Pilon. And Loiselle takes over. And the great chant on Long Island. And we've got Jennings now behind the play with Delgarno. Fencing as play was whistled down.
Icing call against New York. Well, Scotty and his team down again. Now remember, they're without Ron Francis, one of their top performers. Of course, Islander fans can say, hey, we're without Pierre Turgeon all night. And the fans here are having a ball. Now it's standing old time for the team that has again regained the lead in this good hockey game. And Chris New York continues to hop on the advantages given them by some shoddy work defensively by Pittsburgh around their goal.
Well, they call it the new Ice Age in New York, and the Islanders are back. I think regardless of the outcome tonight or in this series, the Isles are back. Malikov around the boards, kept in by Jennings. His shot blocked by Malikov. Out to Ferraro on the left side and in the middle for Junker. That flipped off his stick high in the air. Jennings brings it down, flips it in on Healy. There's Steve Junker, the Castlegar BC native, ahead to Derek King. Krupp and Ferraro at center can't get loose. What's Krupp doing up there? He's caught. Yager, 2-on-1. Yarmer, Yager, Healy the save. Ferraro can't clear it. Straka's got it. Back to Samuelson. There's the shot, and it flutters wide. Ulf Samuelson, far side. Sean McEachern out for Pittsburgh. Yager behind the net, can't reach it. Hogue, or Krupp tying his man up. King wants a whistle. And the crowd chanting defense. I think the Islanders forgot about that momentarily. Derek King out at center. Straka bodies him. Yager fails to turn with it. Ferraro tied up. Here's Thomas. Shot! Hit the goal post! Second post of the game for Thomas. Oh, he whipped that one. And Steve Thomas has become an offensive force again for the Islanders. Brian Mullen, the go-ahead goal, and he clears it in on Barrasso. Thomas scoots after it. Taken to the boards by Samuelson. And Mario Lemieux comes back for Pittsburgh. Great action here on Long Island. Joe Mullen poked away by Healy. Brian Mullen turns. He's checked by Mike Needham. Needham seeing a rare shift tonight. And Scotty Bowman looks for a spark.
Mario double shifting here.
Curvers cross ice. Pilon. Thomas just tipped it and heads to the bench. Larry Murphy, careless pass, but Taglianetti covers up. Joe Mullen ahead to Lemieux. He flips it to the corner. That could have been offside. Needham behind the goal. Tries to feed the point, and Benoit Hogue clears it down the ice.
Good play by Delgarno off Needham at the side of the New York net. 9 minutes and 9 seconds gone
in this third period. It's 5-4 Islanders. Here's a turnover. Dave Tippett shot, rebound, Healy out, and it's swept through the goal crease. Samuelson shot, Healy down, and it's cleared by the Islanders. Fans on their feet again. Grant Jennings sends it back in for Pittsburgh. Even down by a goal, you get the feeling Pittsburgh can score on any shift. But Healy's been great tonight. Here's a steal almost by Junker as Jennings recovered just in time. Rick Tocchet to the line. Stevens, here's a shot, McEachern kicked it out. That may have gone off the crossbar. Off Tocchet, then off the crossbar. McEachern to Stevens. Ulf Samuelson. Shot, Healy kicked it into the corner. Kasparaitis. Up ahead to King, and it goes over his stick, but out to center. Healy has it go by him. Penguins on a change, and here goes Kasparaitis to King. Up ahead, Ferraro. Thomas loose. Thomas scores!
Well, that time he did look like Mike Bossy. Larry Murphy gets beaten at the blue line. There's Murphy at the back of the picture with Ferraro the puck carrier. And it's a perfectly executed play. And Thomas makes it 6-4 Islanders. It came after a tremendous barrage at the New York end, with Healy making some great stops. And then Thomas finishes it off, and New York leads by 2 with 9:28 remaining in the third period. Ferrero's been a goal scorer in this series, in this playoff, but here he becomes a playmaker, and Thomas gets rid of that puck. They were 2-on-1 on Samuelson, with Murphy caught on the play, and the Islanders have sent this crowd into, I'll bet you, the biggest cheer that this old building has heard in a hockey game in a long time. And now it's really comeback time, Chris, for the Stanley Cup champions.
Well, they've been down by 2 before in this game and came back, but we're under 10 minutes to go.
Scotty now triple shifting Mario. He's on with Yager and Muller.
And here they come. Steve Thomas, his second goal of the game, 4th point from Ferraro and King. And here comes Benoit Hone. Hone, cross ice, looking for Thomas. And it comes to Yager. Broken up by Kruk. Thomas again on that right wing, can't get loose. Uwe Kruk sends it back in, and now Thomas and line mates go to the bench. Yager down the right wing for Pittsburgh. Cross ice broken up. He was looking for Mario, but Fitzgerald's back to the line. Drops for Kasparaitis. He's checked. And look at this, 3-on-1 Pittsburgh. Jeff Daniels to Yager. Yager, shot, just wide. Now Brad Delgarno down the right wing for the Islanders. 6-4 New York, 8:20 to go. Delgarno takes his man to the boards. Needham is hit. Gets it to center for Dave Tippett. Looking for help in the back pass. Needham pulled down. Samuelson off the bench to Shell Samuelson. Shot. Healy takes that on the blocker. Malakoff feeds it ahead. There's Ferraro, and we've got an injured New York Islander in his own zone. Loiselle down, and we've got a stoppage.
He and Shell Samuelson collided away from the play. It was accidental, just as that whistle went. And they were both down for a bit. Loiselle down the longer of the two, shaken up a touch. So the look on Scotty Bowman's face kind of sums it all up, and I think the look on Jacques Demers' face back in Montreal must be a little different right now, and the Canadians, as Game 7 looms a little larger on the immediate horizon. And the Canadians are saying, go ahead, guys. Knock the heck out of each other tonight and Friday. We'll see one of you Sunday.
Well, Mario talked off the opening about the danger of a Game 7 and how they wanted to finish it tonight. Kevin Stevens, following Game 5, assured Pittsburgh fans there would not be a 7th game.
Big mistake. I wouldn't have been surprised if I'd have seen that clipping in the Islanders dressing room today.
I'm sure all the Islanders noted it. We talked about winning 4 in a row, Dick. The Edmonton Oilers looked like a team that had a chance at 4 in a row. Here's another 2-1. King and Ferraro. Derek King in front. Ferraro slides it wide. King again. Puts it in front, and it's broken up by Larry Murphy. Back to Tocchet. He can't get loose, and Junker clears it back into the Pittsburgh zone. Remember the Oilers? They won in 84 and 85, heavy favorites in 86. But then we're upset in the 7th game by the Calgary Flames. The Penguins don't want any part of a 7th game against these pesky Islanders. But it's 7:07 left in the 3rd period and a 2-goal Islander lead. Stevens, shot blocked by Uwe Krupp, and Derek King has it. At center, he'll flip it in. Benoit Hogue spun around. Curvers moved in. The far side, Mullen. Behind the net, Hogue. Center, shot right on. Thomas again looking for the hat trick. Steve Thomas works his way in and just shot wide. Hogue, stopped by Barrasso. Rebound, stopped by Barrasso. Up Brian Mullen. The Islanders trying to pour it on. Healy. Better be careful. Up to Mullen. Here come the Islanders, led by Krupp, and he'll head to the bench on a line change. Thomas heads back again to the bench, and he has had scoring chances on every shift in the 3rd.
Boy, they're getting the chances. The loose play by the Penguins continues in their own zone. There's an offside. 6:04 left, 3rd period. The Islanders lead 6-4. Player in hockey pondering his immediate future and that of his teammates as they trail by 2 in Game 6. And it's beginning to look like they just might have another home game left in this series.
6-4 the score, 6:04 remaining. And all the Penguins stealing looks at that time clock.
You know, that the tone of this game, Chris, was set by New York in the first few minutes of the 1st period. They've had a couple of lapses. You've got to give Healy some credit. You think of the players that have been in alone on him right throughout the game. Mario and Stevens in the 1st period. Lemieux and Yager late in the 2nd period. The big guns have had their chances. Yager here in the 3rd period. He stopped them all in those particular times.
As you said off the opening, he was very relaxed this morning. He was joking that he kind of wishes his icing's called against the Islanders that he was facing Bondra and Kristich again instead of Lemieux and Yager. He's seen a lot of 68 and 66, but turned them away so far tonight when it really counted.
The 2 winningest coaches in NHL history. In fact, the 2 guys who've coached more games than any other coaches in NHL history. And it's a battle of wits as well as a battle on the ice in this series. It's interesting to watch.
Al Arbour with so much success on home ice over the years. The Islanders 72 and 29 in the playoffs here at the Nassau Coliseum. 4-1 this year.
I mentioned the other night in Buffalo, it's a saying amongst coaches, always win the last, if you can. You're not going to win the playoffs or win the Stanley Cup. At least win the last game you play on home ice. They'll remember it. Well, if this indeed is to be the last one for the Islanders, these folks are having quite a time here, but it might not be.
Face-off won by the Penguins. Samuelson at the point. Healy saw that all the way. Stevens in the corner, run by Pilon. There's Lemieux. Watched by Kasparaitis, centered. It goes to Loiselle. Rich Pilon jumping into the play, and Islander defenseman drops it back for Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald behind the net. He's turned around, and here come the Penguins with 5:20 to go. Tocchet. Too much elevation on that over the glass and into the crowd.
That spoiled a good play by Tocchet, who took the puck off Fitzgerald in the Pittsburgh zone. But I'll tell you, Rich Pilon did a number on Kevin Stevens in front of the New York net as that play ended down there and went up ice. Stevens looked at the referee. The kind of a thing that you don't see the Pittsburgh defenseman doing all that much to the Islander forwards in front of Barrasso. But Stevens was flat when he was standing there waiting for a pass.
The big guns out for Pittsburgh when they need offense. Lemieux, Stevens, Tocchet, Larry Murphy, and Ulf Samuelsson. And look at Murphy thinking about offense right from that face-off, but he missed the pass.
Oh yeah, Barrasso knows that. He might see a couple of 2-on-1s or whatever.
Delgarno off the boards at center, and Ulf Samuelsson blocked by Delgarno, and he'll clear it back down. Under 5 minutes left in regulation time. Penguins haven't gone to overtime in these playoffs. They may want a chance tonight. At the line, Fitzgerald can't clear it. Now Kasparaitis backhands it straight down the ice. The Islanders don't want to get caught just hanging on here. Murphy touches it and icing the call. 4.5 minutes left for Scotty Bowman's team to come back down by 2.
Center right now with 4.5 minutes left. Just as we broke away, you might have seen Scotty make a motion toward the referee. I think he was upset because there was no call on Tocchet was down, Stevens was down. Rick Tocchet and Kevin Stevens have taken a pounding from the Islander defense tonight, and they look like a couple of tired hockey players here in this third period.
Benoit Hogue on the faceoff against Martin Straka, a 2-goal man for Pittsburgh tonight. Islanders control from the draw. Ryan Mullen along the left wing boards, flips out to center. Thomas streaking down that right wing again, but it was broken up. And Jeff Daniels turns. Scotty Bowman going to his youngsters now. Straka, Daniels, and Yager. Malakoff around the boards for Thomas. He's wrapped up, kept in. Jennings not much on it. And Malakoff ahead to Hogue. Back to Malakoff. Thomas jumps into the play. Samuelsson watching him. Straka in front of his net to Yager. Kasparaitis lined him up and nailed him. And Yager's down. Oh, a blind pass, and Kasparaitis had Yager lined up from about 10 feet away.
There is no doubt which team wins the battle of the bodies here tonight. We mentioned very early in the piece how the Islanders had become much more of a physical presence in this game than the one Chris and I saw in Pittsburgh 2 nights ago. And 20-year-old Darius Kasparaitis really lays into Yager. Now, could this be called charging? Yager's along the boards. Well, I don't know. Not from that replay, you couldn't tell. But Yager takes the brunt of that heavy hit. Kasparaitis, right from the start of this season, got the reputation, especially in the Patrick division and against the Rangers, of being a guy who was really involved, who sort of just abandoned all kinds of thing, you know, with reckless abandon. That's the phrase I'm looking for. He charged around. He made a name for himself right off the bat. And that was quite a hit on Yager, who finally gets up. The bells are perhaps still ringing a little bit, but hockey players have this magnificent and sometimes amazing resiliency, and he'll be back. But that was quite a hit.
He hit Yager harder than he hit that light standard yesterday in the parking lot.
Yeah, they almost had to call a tow truck, as they did with the automobile.
Well, they say he's quite a character, and he's shown a lot of heart tonight.
And he's only 20 years of age. That's why the Islanders figure, you know, that we got an octopus here. What is this, Detroit? There's so many left over in Detroit. There's even a guy got a fishnet. The scoop it up. There's the hit. But he caught him flying up the right side. Not quite ready for that.
He took the hit early. High stick from Tocchet. Then he was feisty with Mario in the second period, and he nails Yager in the third. It's been a busy night for Darius Kasparaitis.
He stirred it up, no question about that.
And the Pens still appealing for a penalty on the call.
3:45 remaining. 6-4 New York.
Well, Dick, we got spoiled in the Adams division with some great playoffs right through these Stanley Cup playoffs in each division, but I would guess this would have to be the best game of the Patrick division playoffs. It's been a beauty, although Washington and the Islanders had some great games too.
We also got involved, Chris, in games where the crowds were really pumped in the Adams division, but this one here tonight is putting on quite a show.
Steve Thomas, front and center. His first 2 goals of the series. He also has 2 assists. He mentioned in the first intermission he had to pick up some slack with Pierre Turgeon out. Could Turgeon be ready for a Game 7? That will be a question asked in the next 48 hours if the Islanders can hold on. Ulf Samuelsson ahead to Dave Tippett. Kerber's behind the goal against Joe Mullen. Uwe Krupp has it. Has some trouble with it. Kerber's backing him up, but they can't clear it. Then Healy will have to hold on. And Krupp goes back to say something to his goaltender after the turnover.
You never know with the Penguins. Mario out there right now with Tippett and Mullen. Joey and Brian Mullen came from New York, not Long Island. Seems like another country out here than when you think about Manhattan. But they came out of a league that Emil Francis began. Knowing kids in New York to get a chance to play, and Emil told me that when these 2 brothers were together at the All-Star game in Edmonton, knowing where they began in the league that he started, along with John Muckler, who helped him out at the beginning, so it gave him one of the biggest thrills he's ever had in hockey. Well, here they are tonight, very much a part of this, and Brian with a very large goal with Joey on the ice here in this third period.
Well, you mentioned Manhattan, Dick, the New York City TV stations yesterday with the Knicks in the playoffs, the Yankees and the Mets. The lead story was the Islanders. There's a pass out in front and Kasparaitis gathers it in. Steve Thomas, flip pass out at center for Hogue. Back to Kasparaitis. A hit on the tape to Thomas. 3:03 to go in the third. And it's 6-4 Islanders, hoping to force Game 7. Out at center for Joe Mullen. Right side, Mario Lemieux. In front, Healy cleared as Mullen was knocked down by Pilon. Larry Murphy's up for Pittsburgh, and it deflects into the crowd, and one of the fans there just dropped down a couple of rows trying to get at the puck.
Well, the Islanders taking no prisoners with the way they're playing in front of their net. Mullen paid the price right there. Tomorrow night, back to the Campbell Conference. And on the full network from the arena in St. Louis, the Maple Leafs and the Blues. BC viewers will see their news at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And then the later game, starting at 7:30 Pacific on the full network. The folks in the Prairies joining that telecast at the end of the Toronto-St. Louis game. Viewers in Ontario and eastward joining following primetime news. That's tomorrow night, coast to coast, on Hockey Night in Canada.
Well, the goaltender from Pickering has been sharp when he's had to be tonight. Glenn Healy. 6-4 in these playoffs. And leading 6-4 here. But Mario still could have something to say about all of this. Tocchet, Stevens, Ulf Samuelsson, Larry Murphy. Stevens takes his man to the boards. Here's Murphy moving right up, in front, tied up and down goes Mario, and here comes a penalty to Tom Fitzgerald.
We've been talking about the heavy hitting and the heavy slugging in front of the New York goal crease. And here with 2:36 left, and the Islanders ahead by 2, remember. The Penguins have to score twice to tie it. It's a penalty call on Tom Fitzgerald. Mario was the target here. Fitzgerald hanging on. You got to do that with this guy. The puck flipped high, and as it comes down, Lemieux is hauled down finally, and the referee has to call that. Goodness gracious, there's just no way he can let that one go. There are things that are let go at certain times in playoff games, much more so now, too, than earlier in the season. But Lemieux hauled down. 2:36 left. Pittsburgh now going on the power play. And it pretty well caps it, Chris, right here, the way this game has gone. Last gasp for the Penguins.
And it all started with Larry Murphy going deep into the corner. Dick, that wasn't a pinch. That was just the Penguins sending 4 men up as Scotty Bowman, with very little time left, sent everybody on the offense.
So it's Lemieux, Stevens, Yager, Murphy, and Tocchet. 4 forwards plus the Penguins' #1 offensive defenseman. And somewhere along the way here do they pull Barrasso. 2:36 left when the 2-minute penalty is called. The Penguins looking for a big finish with a capital B.
A conversation on the far side of the ice between Vaski and Tocchet as they got set here.
Remember that penalty to the Canadians, Chris, in Game 1 in Quebec City. They're hit by 2, and they lost it.
Ooh, there's the goal right there! Murphy from the point! And that took 4 seconds, and it's 6-5. All kinds of time for Pittsburgh.
2:32 remaining. And now the faces of the Islanders coaching staff tell a bit of a story. So Mario on the face-off wins it. He beats Benoit Oak. Murphy's shot hit somebody along the way. I'm sure that it was deflected either by one of his teammates or by an Islander. If we can take a look at it here. There, drops down. It looks like it hit Kevin Stevens, or the defenseman covering him on that play. The Penguins look, the Penguins react, and the Penguins are now down by 1. 6-5 was the score that the Islanders won by here last Saturday night in Game 4. It's now 6-5 with 2:32 left here in Game 6.
And in that game, Glenn Healy made some dandy saves in the dying seconds to preserve the win, and you might expect he'll be called upon to do the same here.
Kevin Stevens getting credit for the goal.
It's his 2nd of the game, 5th of the playoffs.
17-28. Stevens, 2nd of the game, 5th of the playoffs.
Here we go. Stevens, 6-5, Pittsburgh trailing. Stevens knocked down by Pilon. Islanders scored, and the net knocked ajar by Kasparaitis and a whistle. 2:03 to go.
Well, I would like to thank some of the people who made this telecast possible for you. Alan Clark, head of Television Network Sports. The executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada is Ron Harrison. Our producer on site, Ed Milliken. And the completion of our Adams Division crew, Director Ronaldo De Cesare. And everybody else who worked so hard technically to bring you these shows and to make our job so easy. As the Adams Division gang switched over to the Patrick for games 5, 6, and maybe 7 in this series.
Stevens from Murphy and Lemieux, 17-28. And the chant comes up as the Islander fans try to pick up the spirits of their team with just that 1-goal lead. When it was 4-2, the Pens scored goals 2 minutes and 9 seconds apart to tie it. Lots of time left here. Murphy at the point. Puts it in front. Pilon is there. And now it's flipped out to center. A break here for Loiselle if he can get to it. Murphy slowed him up. Here's Kasparaitis jumping into the play. He's checked. And back come the Penguins. Stevens drops it off. And the Islanders come up with the puck and get it outside the line. Malakoff back in his own zone. 90 seconds left regulation time. Kjell Samuelsson hopped over the boards. They had too many on the ice. Samuelsson let it go by him, circled, and now gives it away. Thomas whacked at it through the goal crease as the puck hopped up. And now the Penguins start back. Mullen at center. And Barrasso cheating out of the net. 1:06 to go. When will he make his move? Not yet. Mullen misses it. Under a minute to go. Barrasso still in. Brian Mullen in the corner. And everybody on their feet at the Nassau Coliseum. Here come the Penguins. Taglianetti off the boards, and Barrasso's gone to the bench. Yager in after it. McEachern looking for a loose puck. Elon against the boards for the Islanders. He's lost a glove. Puck comes free. Out in front, Mullen. Sprawling to get it out. Back in come the Penguins. Yager. Shot blocked. Troop. Sliding it down the ice. It's Game 7.
The penguin that Uwe Krupp has tossed into the crowd. Listen to the gang here at the Coliseum. There's the puck from inside his own blue line. Uwe Krupp almost dead center. Larry Murphy had the best scoring chance. The puck came out in front of the net, and he did not make contact with it. The Islander bench as that one goes in. And we're going back to the Igloo in Pittsburgh. Right on, fella. That's where we're headed.
1942, the time of the goal. Krupp gets it unassisted. And the two-time Stanley Cup champions are headed to Game 7. And we've got a little bit of a fracas as time expires.
The game here Saturday night, Game 4, ended on a bit of an ugly note with something like this going on. Although I think a little more vigorous from what we're told than what this one is. The Islander guys just want to get away from all that. And this one is over. And Glenn Healy has to, even though he was beaten for 5 goals, when you figure all of the great chances that some of those top snipers of the Penguins had on him, and he held the fort, and he beat them when they were in alone, a big part of this hockey game. You know, Chris Allarber talked right from the start of this series about the work ethic that his team would have to come up with in order to beat a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins. Boy, did they ever do it tonight. They played better hockey in both ends of the ice, especially their own. Even though they were outshot 36-29, it was those wide open chances. Those Islander players coming out of the corner of the rink, coming from around behind the net to score the goal, to set up the goal. That was the big story here in this one tonight. They took prime advantage of their scoring opportunities. They played it tough in their own zone. They laid on the muscle and laid on the body. And these are the stars in the building here, being introduced to an adoring throng.
Not much doubt about the first star, Steve Thomas, 2 goals and 2 assists, and here's the goaltender, Glenn Healy, celebrating the guy who didn't make it through 60 minutes of Game 5 was a big player for the Islanders in Game 6, and so we're getting set for a 7th game in the Patrick Final and the Stanley Cup champions.
Chris, the fan just walked by and he says, we're going to see you guys from Hockey Night in Canada next week. He's confident it'll be the Canadians here in the conference final.
Well,
but they celebrate and they deserve to enjoy what they did here tonight.
Final score, Islanders 7, Pittsburgh 5. Game 7 awaits.
Steve Thomas, Glenn Healy, and Brian Mullen, the Stars. Our next telecast on Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. Tomorrow, 8 Eastern, the Leafs at St. Louis to face the Blues. BC breaks at 7 Pacific for the news. The Smythe Final, Game 6 from Vancouver's Pacific Coliseum, 7:30 Pacific. The West joins it following the Leaf game. Ontario and the East following the news. There will be a Game 7 in the Patrick Final. Good night from Long Island. The Molson 3 stars in a 7-5 Islander win to force Game 7 in the Patrick Final. Steve Thomas with 2 goals for the Islanders tonight. The second star, Glenn Healy, stood tall in the Islander net. And star number 3, Brian Mullen, got the goal to put New York in the driver's seat. He put them 2 goals ahead. And the Islanders never looked back after that. Once again, 7-5 Islanders the final to even the series at 3 games apiece. They are going back to the Igloo in Pittsburgh. Stay tuned for more on Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. In New York, 68 is Jaromir Jagr, and Glenn Healy of Pickering, Ontario, the goaltender in the Islander net, had Jagr's number all night long. Jagr was stopped again, did not score tonight. No baseball team on Long Island. But watch this, Glenn Healy tosses it up, and this one is over the center field fence, a home run as the Islanders get by the Pittsburgh Penguins 7-5, and even this series at 3 games apiece. You know, Glenn, that media guide says Toronto, Ontario, but really we know you're from Pickering, Ontario. Wow, what a great win for your team.
Yeah, we're very excited. I think right from the get-go, everyone counted us out. They called for the Penguins to sweep us in 4, and we've overcome a lot of adversity to get to this point, not only in the regular season, but also in the playoffs, minus some of our key players, Pat Flatley and Pierre Turgeon. So a gutsy effort by all the guys. You
know, before the game today, after the pregame skate, you said to us, give me Kristich, give me Bondra, but don't give me Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr. They really do come at you. Is it kind of an awesome sight for a goaltender?
There's no question that the goaltender has probably the most heat on him. You can play a great game and still give up a number of goals. They just have so much firepower offensively, and it's not just on one line. Everyone thinks it's just the Lemieux line, but as you go down the line, every single line seems to have a sniper, and the one line with Jagr on it, they don't even need anyone on the ice. They just put him out there by himself. So they have a lot of firepower, and they have a lot to be reckoned with.
Glenn, your team seems to fancy the role of underdog. You talk about the guys that don't have big names on this team, and you're missing Pierre Turgeon. Is it important that you play that role of underdog and that you think of yourselves as giant beaters?
Well, there's no doubt we have to play a different style than Pittsburgh. We can't go head-to-head with them. I remember at one point in the series they had $13 million on the ice. We had about $200,000 on the ice. So we're a different type of hockey club, but we work hard for everything we get. We've worked hard all season long. People were surprised that we're even at this point, and we like being underdogs. And, hey, who knows, Game 7, you never know. We might be on our way to Montreal.
Glenn, a word about the fans here at Nassau Coliseum. They've come back.
Oh, there's no doubt. We, in the past couple of years, haven't given them much to cheer about. It's been a frustrating couple of years, but Bill Torrey has done a great job of amassing some good talent here, and we're really on the building stage, and really everything looks great for the future. On the defensive side, we've got a lot of great young kids. On the offensive side, we've got some great young forwards. So we're a team that's on the rise, and there's no doubt that the fans are rising with us, and they've been right behind us pretty much since we started this little roll.
Glenn, thanks for coming in, and good luck in Game 7.
Thank you very much.
Glenn Healy of the New York Islanders. He backstocks his team to a 7-5 win tonight over the Pittsburgh Penguins. There will be a Game 7 at the Igloo in Pittsburgh on Friday. There is the celebration. Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC returns in just a moment.
Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC was brought to you by Molson Canadian Ice. Welcome to the Ice Age. By Imperial Oil and Desso Associates, proud to be one of the leading sponsors of youth hockey in Canada. And by Pepsi. Gotta have it.
A 7-5 Islander win in Game 6 of the Patrick Final to even the series. Our next telecast on Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern, the Leafs at St. Louis to face the Blues. Game 6 of the Norris Final. BC breaks at 7 Pacific for the news. The Smythe Final, Game 6 from Vancouver's Pacific Coliseum. 7:30 Pacific. The West joins it following the Leaf game. Ontario and the East following the news, the Kings lead the Canucks 3-2 in that series. It could be a good one. We're back Friday with Game 7 of the Patrick Final from Pittsburgh. It's down to one game, 7:30 Eastern, coast to coast. The Islanders hoping to be giant killers after a big win in Game 6 tonight. Good night from Long Island.
CBC Sports, home of the champions.